What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It is Monday, my degenerates. Welcome back to the Die Hard MMA Podcast. I'm your boy, your host, as always, Clint, and the show is sponsored by Pub Sports Radio, and these sports betting lines are brought to you by Superbook Sports. Man, it feels good to be back after a week, you guys. I needed the week off. I needed it to clear my head, to get some space, just to rest, relax, spend a little time with the family. And then the withdrawals kick in. For people like us, we can't go more than a week without our MMA gambling action. So when I got to Sunday and I started tape studying for this week, I was like, fuck, man, like, I didn't gamble on any fights this weekend. It started to feel weird. Like those first couple days, it's awesome. And then it goes off the rails and I'm like, man, I miss it. So I'm back. I'm hungry. We got a 20-unit hole to dig our asses out of. As always, everybody, just a reminder, this is such a big card. We're probably going to get some new faces, some new listeners, some new people in chat. If this is your first time watching the Die Hard MMA Podcast, I'm a complete degenerate, and I tell you my opinions of what's going to happen. I will let you know what I am gambling on. However, I want you to make your own choices, make your own decisions. Hopefully, we bring you some good information. Maybe we can steer you in the right direction here on the show. But what I do is I have a tendency of bringing people who are much better at gambling than I am on the podcast. I am not the person who is going to win week in and week out. I like to take my long shots. I like to go for the 18-1s. And every once in a while we hit those and have a party. But if you want consistent, regular results, there's better people out there, folks. And those are the people that I bring in onto the show. For this epic UFC 273 card, I hooked a big one. I got me a big fish for you. We got none other than the GOAT himself, Cody Saftic, finally making it to the podcast. Cody, what's up, buddy? How you doing?
Yeah, what's up, dude? We've been meaning to do this for a long time. So a long time coming. You bring me in for a banger of a card, so I'm happy to do so. And let me just correct you. Nobody wins week in, week out. Everyone's going to have some bumps. It's what you do with the wins. And they used to call me the human shovel because I dig people out of holes. So let's get working on those 20 units, man. Might not do it all at once. Do my best. But at the very least, let's put a dent in it and put some consecutive weeks together, hopefully, and get ourselves back in the green.
The human shovel. That's a good one, Cody. I like it, man. I'm happy to have you here with me on the show, and I am going to be attacking UFC 273 with the confidence, with the unearned confidence of a Kardashian. Like, I am coming after it this week. I'm going to brush it off, pretend I didn't lose those units, pretend I'm not in a hole, and we're just going to go for it, buddy. There's nothing to recap. There's nothing to talk about from last week, so let's dive straight on into this bad boy. We have got the main event of UFC 273, Alexander Volkanovski taking on the Korean zombie, Chan Sung Jung. And as always, everybody got to throw out, your little reminder here that these odds are brought to you by Superbook Sports. Cody, this is an absolutely fantastic main event. It's one of those ones where we all kind of feel like we know what's going on here. Volkanovski's been the man for quite some time. I've always been that guy that I think Holloway's the dude that's going to be able to get him out of there. Hell, I thought he won the second fight, but here we are, and now he's getting a lesser opponent. And of course, Volkanovski a minus 700, minus 800 favorite at this stage because people just give really no shot here to Chan Sung Jung. Even though he's been around forever, he's got that knockout power. Now he's training out at Fight Ready. Volkanovski's got us all believing, man. And even me, like, I'm kind of having a bit of a tough time on this one. I'm the Fight Ready guy. Anytime somebody signs up at Fight Ready, I put extra emphasis on maybe taking a stab at them, maybe getting in there and mixing it up. But it's kind of hard to go against Volkanovski in this spot, man. It feels like Korean Zombie might just have a puncher's chance, but damn, dude, I was looking at the props and they're offering 10 and 12 to 1 on that puncher's chance. That might be a number you can talk me into rolling the dice on. But if it wasn't for that kind of a line, I've got a hard time going straight up against Volkanovski. What about you, man? How do you see this fight playing out?
Yeah, so I think part of the reason when you've dug yourself into a little bit of hole, sometimes you chase these big props that not likely are going to happen. And that's kind of how I see this one happening. Because it's MMA, anything could happen. Volkanovski's low-key 33 years old, maybe because of his style, forward pressure, being aggressive, getting in your face, taking punches to give punches. Maybe like at some point someone's going to crack the code. I just think he's on another level. It's not like Korean Zombie's getting the title fight because he's the number one contender. He's getting the title fight because there's nobody else right now. He just wiped through everybody. And you're always asking question marks. And I think in the Ortega fight, the question mark would be like, well, what if he got caught in some deep ass submission? Like, what would he do then? And Brian Ortega's got 2 fucking moves, man. He's got a guillotine choke and he's got the best triangle going. And I think in both scenarios, it's like, oh, Volkanovski's screwed, and he perseveres. 5-round cardio, granite chin, solid submission defense. So it really comes down to a striking battle. Let's say it's just a 5-round wild brawl. Well, Korean Zombie, like, he can be high output. He can be high volume, assuming he doesn't get knocked out. But you look at the Dan Ige fight. It's a 5-rounder. He scores 92 significant strikes. The Ortega fight, 5-rounder. He scores 62 significant strikes. I suppose you could go back to the Yair Rodriguez fight. That's a barn burner. That's a crazy fight. He lands 126. Those numbers, going to have to get those numbers up, bud. Because Volkanovski is going to land 200 significant strikes. You know,
Rookie
a bottom
number.
end for him is 120, 130 over 5 rounds. So again, MMA, I would never say impossible, ever, because I've seen it all. Never impossible. But yeah, you need 20 to 1 on the puncher's chance. I would need 30 to 1 on the puncher's chance. That's the way I see things. So everybody sees it the same way. That's why he's an 8-1 favorite, right? And everybody tried to steam up these early money line parlays when the lines first got dropped. So Volkanovski's on the same page, and we could debate it because it's a fun fight. We could debate how fun it will be, and could Korean Zombie have spots? But at the end of the day, we're looking to bet one certain guy. I wouldn't be able to go against Volkanovski in any good faith.
I hear you, man. I hear you. I kind of feel the same way, but I think the one spot that I've found that maybe I want to attack on this particular fight is the total. So right now, I mean, because of what Volkanovski does, you know what you talked about his last fight, surviving Ortega, the granite chin, like you just can't seem to get him out of there. They've got this thing juiced like minus 165 to go the distance. They got plus 120 for fight doesn't go the distance. And I kind of think I'm smelling violence here, Cody. This is a spot where, you know, Volkanovski, he's been talking a while about not wanting to be the decision guy, about really wanting to like emphasize his dominance over the division. And he's hurt some people his last couple fights. He had some big shots. I have no idea how I didn't cash the fight doesn't go the distance prop in his last fight against Ortega. Either him for the submission or the way he was just beating the hell out of Ortega in the 3rd and the 4th rounds. That fight could have been stopped multiple times. Man, you kind of mentioned it earlier, Korean Zombie, the pace that's going to be in this fight. I think he's really going to have to go in there guns blazing. Like, this is his opportunity, and his path to victory is a knockout. I know he's got, like, the twister from the early UFC days when he first got over here, but let's be real. If Ortega's not submitting Volkanovski, I don't see the Zombie submitting Volkanovski. I really think it's KO or bust for him. He's not going to out-volume the champion, so I've got a hard time seeing him win a decision unless he drops him like 3 consecutive rounds but doesn't quite get him out of there. So I really think it's KO or bust, and if he's going to go for it, take his chance at getting that gold strap. Volkanovski's talking about how he wants to put a stamp on the fact that this is his division. He doesn't think that the Korean Zombie belongs in there with him. I think somebody's getting finished. I might be taking a look at violence and going fight doesn't go the distance at plus 120.
Yeah, I'm inclined to actually agree with you on that. I think it's going to probably be a violent fight. I think Volkanovski realizes he's not fighting the number 1 guy. He's fighting the number 6 guy. So you need to go out there and have a statement performance. And because he doesn't show a whole lot of finishes on his record, people will say, well, he's not really a knockout guy. He's got heavy, heavy hands. And you see the beatings that he's put on guys. Those fights could have been stopped. The Ortega fight could have been stopped. Yeah, I think over a prolonged 25-minute beating, absolutely. Now, here's the other thing people don't realize. Chang Sung-jung's got this legendary chin. Even I don't fit it anymore. I'm getting fat these days. But I got a Korean Zombie shirt from back in 2009. Like, he was the man. He had this granite chin, could not get knocked out. But look at this, right? Since he comes back from military duty, Dennis Bermudez, right? He was an athletic wrestler with a suspect gas tank, but now a power puncher. Yair Rodriguez is a volume guy, finesse, flashy strikes, but he doesn't sit down on any one particular strike. He's not really a power puncher. Hanato Moicano, he's not a power puncher. Frankie Edgar's got some pop, but this was an age-dated version of Frankie, no longer the same guy, and that pop just wasn't quite there anymore. The Brian Ortega fight, Brian Ortega rearranged him. Talk about another fight that could get stopped. He got his ass kicked. You know, Brian Ortega was not very competitive standing against Volkanovski. That's MMA math. I'm not trying to use that. But what I am saying is Brian Ortega is not a power puncher, right? He's a guy that might be able to beat you over a prolonged period of time, good volume, right? And Dan Ige, of course, who's just not on a very good run lately, and certainly not a power puncher. So he can fight those guys and he can take shots from those guys, but against Volkanovski, it might be a completely different animal. Fight doesn't go the distance, looks decent. And if you're chasing props Volkanovski by TKO, because he's not going to submit the zombie, I think he would TKO him if anything. Looks good too. I'm more of a straight guy. I'm more of a parlay guy. You can't bet this fight straight because it's 8-1, so you'd have to parlay. So maybe you do chase some props, and I'm thinking the same lines as you.
Okay. I definitely enjoy getting the vouch from you there on that one. That makes me feel a whole hell of a lot better. And it's one of those spots, man, that I get a little sketched out. What seems to happen with me is I have a good read, a good solid read on something, and then it doesn't happen, and I'm too sketched out to go back to the well on it. Like, the read was there, it should have happened, it almost happened, but I don't pull that trigger the second time. And that actually, Mark Diakiese last fight was a perfect example of that. My guest that week, Goombas, he talked me into pulling the trigger on Mark Diakiese, best fucking bet on the board.
Yeah,
but I was too scared to do it. Like, it took the reinforcement of someone going, no, you weren't wrong last time, for me to get in there. So I think that's what I'm gonna do here. I do think that I want to take that stab on doesn't go the distance, because this isn't the number one contender, because this isn't a guy with that stupid legendary durability. I mean, I'm convinced a gorilla could hit Ortega in the head with a 2x4 and he still wouldn't go unconscious.
He's Mexican, man. And people always say that, like, oh, you're being a little, culturalist. It's like, no, I'm telling you, man, these guys have granite chins. They can take one hell of a punch. And he puts that pride on display, man.
Good stuff, man. Hey, we have 210 live viewers in here. We just broke down the main event. I'm joined by my guy, Cody Saftic from the Dog or Pass podcast. Shout those guys out for sure. Bunch of new and different viewers here in the chat. Just so everybody knows, a few simple rules. No hate speech. I don't care who you're directing it at. No hate speech. No spam. That's it. You can make fun of my face all you want. Don't do those two things. Just gave somebody a timeout for the spam. Don't make me block you. That's simple. Let's get into it. Have a good time. We're going to talk fights, hopefully put some money in your pockets. Both Cody and I are riding with the champ. Both of us think it's not going the distance. I'm probably going to bet fight doesn't go the distance at plus 120. And I don't know if I can resist sprinkling 12-1 on the zombie by knockout, man, just because it's a stupid number. But just a sprinkle. You know what I mean? Just a little taste. All right, man. Next fight up, co-main event, the rematch everybody has been waiting for. Aljo Sterling taking on Petr Yan 2. And this is going to be kind of the theme for these first couple of fights. Just smoked lines, absolutely smoked lines. Everybody saw that first fight. Everybody knows what's coming down the pipe for the second fight. We've got Petr Yan as a minus 450 favorite. The comeback on Aljo Sterling is plus 375. Lines again brought to you by Superbook Sports. And man, Cody, I'll be honest with you. I really went into my tape study and dug in on this one looking for an excuse to bet Aljo. Like, this is such a recency bias spot. This is such a spot where the entire planet is all lining up on one side. And the only way to find value on, a bet like that is to go against the grain, go against the narrative. Like, you're not going to get a discount on Petr Yan. You're not going to get a discount on Yan by knockout. Hell, you can't even get a discount on Petr Yan rounds 4-5 or decision. Like, everyone knows that's the plan here, and that's what everyone's expecting. So I really wanted to come in here and find an angle to bet Aljamain Sterling, and I can't. Like, I rewatched that last fight, man, and I was like, were those first couple rounds closer than I thought? Like, did Aljo maybe have some more success earlier in that fight than I'm remembering? And no, he didn't. Like, every single time he clinched up with Yan, he got dumped. He got tripped over and over. He was on his back the entire time. And you're like, man, he's supposed to be the grappler. And Yan got like 11 or 12 credited takedowns on him from all those trips. And then you're supposed to be able to use the reach, the length, the height advantage, and maybe, piece this guy up at distance. Yan had no respect for Aljo's striking, crashed the pocket, was hitting him up every single chance he got. Like, fuck, man. I can't do it. Like, I really want to try and go against everybody and bet the dog here, but I can't find a way to get there. I got to go with Petr Yan. I know Aljamain Sterling added some muscle. He looks incredible. If you look at his Instagram, like I think he got a good new doctor. His veins are popping everywhere. So we might see a little extra gas in the tank for Aljamain Sterling. But at the end of the day, like, I think Jan has a better doctor, and I think he's just better skilled everywhere. So I kind of got to go with Jan here, and I think I'm going to follow the crowd and say that it's either a late finish or a decision. I think this fight might go deeper than the other one did, if I'm being honest. But that's kind of my only read here. What do you think, Cody? What about you?
Yeah, so I'm a little bit worried, to be honest with you. I could see Aljamain Sterling pulling something off, and I'll be first and foremost with you, right? Back in the day, you have a favorite fighter. Yeah, you like this guy, you like that guy. Kevin Random and Shoney Carter, those are the guys back then. Now, not so much. You bet on guys. There's so many guys on the roster. Like, there's not particularly guys I like. I love Petr Yan. Always love Petr Yan. Petr Yan fought Magomedov back in the first fight back in 2016. I voted it fight of the year. 5-round banger. Holy shit, man. Like, why isn't this guy signed? His whole time in the UFC has just been a max bet scenario. The guy's absolutely the best in the division, right? In a 3-round fight, you might be able to beat him. In a 5-round fight, you're screwed. What can you do? Because it comes down to skill. In 5-round fights, Cream's going to rise to the top. Championship mentality. He's a slow starter. If there's one knock on him is that he tends to take the first round, maybe first 2 rounds off. And that allows his opponent to maybe get a quick little lead on him. And then the championship rounds, that's when he really shines through. He's got skills everywhere. He can wrestle. He can grapple. He's got great cardio. He's got a cast iron chin. He's got good submission defense. His punch selection, his output, everything's par for the course. I love everything about him. But a guy like that can't be defeated, right? So how would you, it's not like anybody's invincible. So how would you go with the approach of beating him, right? And standing in front of him and slinging bombs, yeah, that's not the approach. That's kind of what Aljamain did the last time. Going and trying to wrestle with him hard for 25 minutes, yeah, that's not the approach either, because he's got really good takedown defense. You're going to gas out trying, right? You need to be able to win pockets of the round and get the fuck out of there. You need to. You ever watch fencing, right? So in my mind, right, I'm a Lord of the Rings fan. In my mind, you come in there and you're like, yeah, and you're just slashing and dashing orcs up. But in reality, like, the move is just like pop the guy one single time, right? Just try to get that one pop. That's how Aljo has to approach this. He's just got to matador the guy. Now you look at the first round. Aljamain fights like an idiot. He wins the first round, right? But he throws 73 strikes, significant strikes. He throws 73 in the first round. What are you doing, man? It's a 5-round fight. Got to pace yourself. He actually does outstrike Jan in the second round as well. In the third round, he gets outstruck, and it's something like 30-29. Like, it's super close on the striking, right? So Jan's landing the better strike at this point. Jan's taking the momentum. Jan's taking over. But it looked like Sterling had an excellent first round and then gassed himself, right? He needs to go with the approach of just slightly landing the better strikes and moving. And Corey Sandhagen, excellent fight. I max bet Petr Yan. You don't think I was sweating that one out? He got outstruck in 4 of the 5 rounds against Corey Sandhagen. You know why? Because Sandhagen's very long, he's mobile, and he's fast. And one thing about Jan is he's a little bit flat-footed at times. He'll go high guard, and he'll allow his opponent to try to strike first. Like, he almost wants to counter them with something. So Sterling's very fast. Sterling moves awkwardly. And if Sterling just pumps the jab, pumps some low kicks, and just dances around and doesn't really engage him, he doesn't like this guy. He's been booed by every MMA fan in the game. So he doesn't care if they boo him. Right? He doesn't care if it's an entertaining fight. He's not looking to have fight of the night. I can guarantee you that. He just stick to the outside, jab this guy, and fucking run. It'll be a bad fight. He could win it. So,
bro,
I love Jan, but do you top
imagine?
Ticket Jan? Right? I don't want to top ticket Jan, but my problem is I top ticket Volkanovski. He's a huge favorite. I want to top ticket our next huge favorite and Chimaev, and then what are you left with? You got to take a shot on somebody, right? So, I'm going to pick Jan. Jan's the pick. It's just I don't want to get myself over-invested and then have that be the apple pie shitter. I'll tell you the last thing that cinched it for me, and then I'm rambling, so we can move on. But since the fight with Aljo, Jan's always in camp, always getting better, still only 29 years old, just had a barn burner with Corey Sandhagen, more experience, thrilling, shows his grit, shows his determination, shows everything. And then since Aljo's had the fight, he's had like a major reconstructive like neck surgery, right? Been on the sideline, missed like 6 months, comes back to the gym. You're right, he does look in good physical shape, but a lot of the times when fighters get off time, like John Jones, right? John Jones wouldn't fight, so he'd get super big, and everyone would speculate how good he looks. Then he fights OSP, and it's like dog shit, right? Because he's lifting weights. There's certain things he can do, go to the gym, but he's not sparring, he's not wrestling, he's not grinding, he's not doing anything that would be awkward movements. So it's good to get in physical shape, because there's exercises you could do to get in physical shape, but he's not in like fight shape. You know, Petr Yan is a terrorizer, man. The guy's going to be coming after you. You got to be in good fight shape. And because I don't think Aljamain's in the kind of shape that he's going to be able to matador him for 25 full minutes, some point, Jan's got to break the code. Maybe he loses the first two. Dude, live bet Jan. This is a bad price tag right now. Live bet him after the first round, which he'll probably lose. Maybe live bet him after the second round, he might be down. But I got to go with my boy to just pull off the championship rounds like he normally does. Hopefully not be down 3-0 going into those fourth and fifth round.
That's maybe the move, man. Like you mentioned, he definitely starts off a little bit slow. He does come out and give his opponents opportunities to get in the fights and win those first early rounds. But I got to go back to what you were saying, Cody. And like I said, I've been looking for really any excuse to try to get on Aljo in some way, shape, or form here, just because you know it's not going to go the exact same way the first one did. Everyone thinks it will, but it never does. And if he comes out, I was like, okay, so it's like 16-1 to win by submission. That Corey Sandhagen sub is just like always rent-free in the back of my mind.
Right.
But I don't know that he can get Jan to the ground. And like every time they hit those scrambles, Jan got right back up to his feet. That I'm like, oh, I don't think the sub, like as much as I love that number and Aljo's capable, I don't know that he's going to sub Jan. Can you imagine if he is just on his bike for 25 minutes in the big cage and jabs Jan and runs and wins like a split decision?
Dude,
he's already the most hated man in MMA. If we get and it's like the lowest significant strike fight of Jan's career and he loses a decision to Aljo, like I would die, Cody. That'd be the funniest thing. I know people gambling would not think it was funny, but like holy shit. That would be something. All right. So, I mean, we're both leaning with the favorite here. It's hard to go against Jan here in this spot, recognizing, honestly, out of these top three fights, Cody, I think Aljo's got the best chance to pull the upset. Like, if we had to pick one bed shitter out of the three, I kind of, for some reason, feel like Aljo's the one that might be able to do it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Chimaev's not as proven. Like, that's the thing. I always tell people, I like betting on guys that'll fight for your dollar. Petr Yan, he is going to fight for my dollar. Alexander Volkanovski, buddy, do you remember that Ortega fight? Trust me, he was fighting for the dollar. He perseveres. He does what he's got to do. With Chimaev, I think he's a total badass. I think most people think he's a total badass. But I don't know for sure that if he doesn't end up in some Paul Craig-ass triangle choke, he's not going to. I don't know that for sure. So, to me, it would be a toss-up between Jan or Chimaev. But Chimaev is a huge favorite. Volkanovski is a huge favorite. They're expected to roll. People understand that Aljo is not just like a total joke. People don't like him, but they can recognize good skill set. So that's why that one's not the huge favorite that the other two are. But yeah, let's talk some Chimaev. I mean, I think he gets it done, but
we're right around the corner. We're right around the corner. Let's get into that one. By the way, I know you were, saying you were rambling earlier. Cody, this is a special episode with you on, man. I got all night. Like, if you need me to speed up or if you just want to slow down and talk fights, baby, this could be a 4-hour episode for all I care. Let's go.
Well, you know what? I was hoping to get out of here by 9 o'clock, but I'll tell you something, Clint, because it's a little special occasion. I think you might have to have me a little sippy. All
right, Cody. I'm gonna need you to talk for a minute because I gotta run to the fridge. No way are you doing a shot of Fireball on my show without me joining in. I did not come prepared. So give me a sec, everybody.
When you invited me on the show, I kind of just assumed that we would be doing some shots. But that's assumption. I make assumptions sometimes.
Yeah, it's a good assumption, though. It's a good one, and I like it. So real quick, let me just go ahead first off, shout out my guy, Skywalker DFS. Thank you so much for the donation, keeping the lights on here at Pub Sports Radio, and a good friend, awesome DFS guy. We appreciate you, my man. And then Sharpie, one of the personalities here at Pub Sports Radio, my guy with the $3.99 dono. Thank you so much for that. So I guess what I'm going to do here, Cody, I think this is the solution. I'm going to go ahead and tee up our next fight here. We're going to be talking Gilbert Burns and Khamzat Chimaev. And then I'm going to let you start the breakdown while I run ever so quickly to my refrigerator and grab me some Fireball. And then I'll be right back and we can keep talking.
All right, well, I'll hit you up. So it's not that I'm a Gilbert Burns hater. It's just I'm not a guy that's fighting for my dollar. That's kind of how I always felt about him. If you look at his run, I know I'm trying to kill time here, but if you look at his run, even back to the Alex Oliveira fight, he's a huge favorite. It's Cowboy Oliveira's debut. He's a minus 750 favorite over Cowboy Oliveira, right? Great grappling wizard. No takedown attempts in the first, none in the second, gets boxed up, eye starts to swell shut, loses the first 2 rounds. Thank God Cowboy gasses out, which he tends to do. Falls to the mat in the 3rd round. Gilbert Burns picks up an armbar. Holy shit, dude. Minus 750 favorite. Didn't look good. It's kind of been like that since then. Rashid Magomedov was legit. Well, he loses that fight. Lucas Sajewski, no career in the UFC, fans out. He can win that. Michel Prazeres, who's a journeyman at best, he loses those ones. But he can beat Jason Sago, fans out quite early. He can beat Dan Morat, fanned out quite early. Dan Hooker fight. Dan Hooker's somewhat relevant. And again, Hooker knee up the middle, clips the guy, puts him out. Like, damn. Gilbert Burns not looking too good at this point. But to me, it's just a continuation that I was never really high up on him to begin with. I think it's a pacing thing. Beats Obey Mercier, fans out of the UFC. Beats Mike Davis, who I like. Davis takes the fight on short notice, moves up a weight class, and is making his UFC debut. Like, it's just not a winnable spot for him, a good spot for him. Those are fights that Gilbert's winning. Konchenko, fanned out of the UFC extremely quickly. Gunnar Nelson, I think would be considered a fraud by most people's standards in the UFC. Damian Maia, who was in his 40s, right? Tyron Woodley, I bet the shit out of him because I'm a huge Tyron Woodley hater. But even then, it's like he needs to be fighting these guys that are faded, aged, irrelevant in the division. That's it. That's where he's at. He doesn't fight hard for 3 rounds. He doesn't fight hard for 5 rounds. He's got excellent jiu-jitsu. He's got a little bit of pop in his hands, but he's not a complete, well-rounded fighter. And there's nobody in the division. And they can kind of sell the storyline that, oh, dude, he used to be Kamaru Usman's jiu-jitsu coach. What if he catches him? What if he catches him? When was the last time he submitted anybody? The Mike Davis fight 3 years ago. Mike Davis again, taking the fight on short notice, moving up a weight class, making his UFC debut. Like, I don't know, man. The Wonderboy Thompson fight, he's on Wonderboy for a significant portion of the fight, but doesn't really come close to any real submission. It's not like his jiu-jitsu is so good that if the fight hits the ground, you're instantly done. So he needs to rely on his wrestling. And his wrestling can work against Wonderboy, sure, but it ain't going to work here. His striking's not complete enough that he's going to do it for 3 rounds. So, like, what's his path to victory? Fluke submission? Again, I just don't think he's a fluke submission guy. Puncher's chance, clips Chimaev. Nobody's clipped Chimaev, so... You know, that's possible. But Chimaev's not going to stand at distance with you for a prolonged period. I think he's going to get in close, get a hold of him, rip him to the ground. People say you don't want to go to the ground with a jiu-jitsu guy. Yeah, maybe you don't want to go into his guard. But these Russian guys don't go to guard, right? They go to, like, single knee, hip down position, up against the cage, smash you with the open hand. You want to get up, they're just going to wrist ride you, pull you back down to the ground. You want to try to get up again, they're just going to go rear waist body lock, pull you back to the ground. It's just rinse and repeat for them. And Burns is not a cardio guy. So even if he has a little bit of success in the first round, he'll gas after the first round. Chimaev takes over second and the third. Question is, does Chimaev have like such amazing pace in Khabib 2.0 that he just TKOs Burns the later the fight goes? Like, is that going to happen? Or is this his first time that he's going to have to settle down a little bit and conserve a little bit and this and that? Maybe the fight goes at over 2.5. Maybe fight goes the distance. Chimaev at least gets a little bit of ring time for the first time. Yeah, not entirely sure. I think wins. Not entirely sure if he just wants to go out and put on a huge performance or anything like that. So I wouldn't bet fight goes the distance. I wouldn't bet Chimaev inside the distance or by decision. But yeah, I got Chimaev. He's probably going to be a piece of the parlays this week.
I like it, man. I like it. I said, I'm going to say last week, this entire show, guys, y'all know there was no show last week. The week before, Cody, I'm the conductor of the Burns train. Like, he's my boy. I am always looking to back Gilbert Burns. This run that he has been on recently since moving up to 170, I've been cashing some gorgeous tickets on the man the entire way through. He's been real fun. But what we've got here, I mean, just boil it down to the base level. We got a guy who's talking about taking the belt up at 185. And we've got a guy that was a former lightweight. And now they're meeting in the middle at 170. Like, size-wise, size matters, folks. Like, when you have 2 people of equal skill, size freaking matters. I think Khamzat is going to be too big and too strong. Gilbert Burns, he's got that tight lead hook, man. That lead hook that almost killed Damian Maia. I love that thing. He's got fast hands. I took a flyer on him by knockout against Usman because of that speed advantage, and he damn near got it done in the first round. He's absorbed osmosis style. He's taken Usman's wrestling chops off of him with their training days together. But at the end of the day, man, Gilbert Burns he's chinny. He's got a little bit of a chin issue on him. And now I know Usman striking has come a long way, but you don't just get dropped with a jab like that. Like that's not a thing that usually happens. So do I think he can out wrestle Khamzat? No. That's where the size kicks in. The size, the strength, the pace. This kid's a freak. I do not think he can out wrestle Khamzat the way he did Wonderboy. Can he outstrike Khamzat? Like if he lands a missile early, we haven't really seen Khamzat chin checked. Maybe he clips him and puts him down, but he's got to get past that 4-inch reach advantage first, and he better do it in one shot, because if he doesn't, we've seen what Khamzat can do. I mean, I know Gerald Mearshard's not got the best chin in the world, but the way he deaded that man with a single punch, Khamzat's got some power. I think, I believe, man. I think Khamzat's the goods. I think he's legit. I don't think he's going to run into a problem until he's challenging for the title. Like, I legitimately think he's that legendary guy outside the UFC where everybody's like, just because he's not fighting the UFC level guys doesn't mean he's not championship material. Like, I think that's this guy. So I think that he's going to take care of Gilbert Burns about the way he's taking care of everybody else. I think Gilbert's going to put up a good, solid first round. But like you said, once Gilbert starts to slow down just a little bit, I do think we get grappling. I do think we get wrestling. And honestly, I think Khamzat gets him out of there in the second. I think we're going to get a TKO. I think it's going to be ground and pound. I lost the rights to my 100% prediction rate on Khamzat Chimaev in his last fight because that son of a bitch. No, Cody, with Khamzat, I've picked his exact method of victory every single fight in his UFC career. Right. And the leech gave up his neck. I said it was going to be a ground and pound TKO, and it was right there. And the leech goes, and that was it. It was over because that's what Khamzat does. Like, he's so deadly with those submissions. If you give him the neck, he's taking it. So I thought I was going to get my TKO and missed it by just a smidge. But I'm going to go back to the well here. I think it's TKO, man. I think Gilbert Burns is too good to submit. Like, maybe if you rock him, you can choke him out. But man, just quick story time. Like, I'm a BJJ blue belt. I've said that before. Haven't trained in years. I got the dad bod in my gut going on right now. Got to get my ass in shape.
That's most BJJ blue belts, by the way. Go on.
Fact. No, but went to a seminar back when I was training like extremely seriously and didn't have the dad bod. My coach is a black belt under Rigan Machado. So like back in the day, there's the Gracies and there's the Machados. The Machados are obviously a little lesser known, but people don't realize they're the second big influential jiu-jitsu family out there. My coach is like a direct black belt descendant of the Machado family. Well, none other than Rigan Machado himself, which, by the way, if you do jiu-jitsu, that's a big-ass name. You should know that one.
Yeah, Jean-Jacques Machado, Eddie Bravo systems, all those. Yeah, for sure, man. It's legendary lineage.
So Rigan comes and does a seminar for us. And he let people like rear naked choke him, and nobody could get this guy to tap out. And like, I didn't even bother trying. I wasn't even a blue belt at the time. I was a white belt, but he goes, come here. And I'm like, what? And he goes, feel my neck. And like flexes. And Cody, I kid you not, it was like poking a bowling ball. Like, I couldn't get my finger, like I could not get the neck muscles to move. You can't tap these guys. Like, Gilbert Burns is not tapping to a rear naked choke unless he's completely gone and just operating on instinct alone. I think the chin issue is going to be the more serious part of this. I think it's Khamzat by KO. I'm saying round 2, maybe it's round 3, but I think Khamzat's going to get it done.
I'll tell you a little story time here, right? So I don't know Khamzat personally, but the story coming out of it was that he was training at All Stars MMA and that he would beat the shit out of Alexander Gustafsson in training. That was the story. Now it was he out-wrestles Alexander Gustafsson. He's like, no, there's footage online of him dropping Gustafsson with a body kick. You could check it out. It's a front kick straight up the middle, folds Gustafsson with a body shot. At this point, he's like 4-0 and is known for his wrestling. He was supposed to be some next level super stud prospect. So now he's in Las Vegas. My boy Chris Curtis is in Las Vegas. Chris Curtis would destroy Gilbert Burns. I would max bet that. He would have to go back down to 170, which he easily could because he's not very big at 185 pounds. He would kill Gilbert Burns, right?
I love the action, man.
He trains down there. And Gus is there as well. Chimaev and all them are down there, and Jake Shields and Sean Strickland. It's just a crazy room. And I'm just like, well, what's the deal with Chimaev? He's like, this guy is by far the strongest guy I've ever felt in my life. Like, just everybody in the room, there's an aura to him. The UFC's behind him, and the fans like him, and this and that. And he's like, in the training room, he's like, this guy is an absolute filthy animal. Just destroys people. Fair enough, Action Man, because Action Man's been in there with all the greats. Action Man is trained with all the greats, and Action Man knows exactly what the hell is up, right? And he's just like, it's next level. Like, when he puts a grip on you, there's not much you can do. When he gets you in holds, there's not much you can do. I don't think he's going to submit Gilbert Burns, right? But I just think that he is probably Bill as advertised. Everyone thinks he's super legit. I'm inclined to believe that as well. I think he's super legit. So, yeah, this is like a bigger test than what we're used to. But Jingliang Li's got more power than Burns, I think. Strictly puncher's chance. Like, if Li lines you up with one, you could be in trouble. Burns, like, yeah, he clipped Usman, but like Usman's been clipped a few times. He's kind of stanky-legged a few times, and then he just recovers and goes back to business. He dropped him with a power jab. Like Chimaev, like you were saying, take him in the second round, tire him out, could drop him with whatever you want standing. You could take him to the ground, TKO him there, probably a TKO finish. So, you know what? I was just going to go Chimaev straight up. Again, probably going to have to chase something to get a better price. But, yeah, I think you've talked me into the inside the distance TKO specifically.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the lines right now, you can get Khamzat by KO, TKO plus 150. I mean, the sub is plus 225. You're not getting any discounts anywhere with this guy. Like, people realize at this point, he's absolutely legit. But turning a minus 500 into a plus number, like, damn, dude, like, all day. Like, let me roll those dice here. It's not even money. It's plus money. So I'll take the shot on that KO. I'm not ready for this guy to go to decision just yet, even though it's going to hurt my heart a little bit when he burns out. Like, inside the distance is minus 190. That's where it's like, like, I don't want to lay chalk on the finish. Like, I'd rather pick one and take my chances.
Fair enough.
Yeah, man, we're going Khamzat. All right. Shout out my guy Andy for the dono here at $9.99. Thank you so much. And cheers to you, my man. We got the fireball flowing already, so we can definitely be cheersing with people. We got the notorious. Yeah, there you go. Dono here. Thank you so much, my friend. $4.99. No comment necessary. It's all good. And I'm getting caught up on the chat here, everybody. I apologize. We've got 393 live viewers, folks. Let's freaking go. We almost smashed that record. 400 live viewers with my guy Cody here on tap. And I've got
I was gonna say, I'll give you a tip. This is why on live shows you should start with the prelims, right? Because prelims start, people generally don't tune in right at 7:30, so you might get 100 viewers at 7:30, and then you build, you have a good time, you break it down, then you get your most viewers later on. So later on, we might have 300, 400, 500 people, and we're talking Darian weeks, right? Whereas should have had some fireball and talk some Chimaev in an hour, right? But anyways, let's roll on. Fights, the whole card's good as far as I'm concerned.
When we get down the line, we're talking the early prelims. We'll be feeling good about ourselves, and the breakdowns will make a little bit less sense. So it's good that we started early the way we're doing this show. But yeah, everybody, Khamzat, smash that like button for me. Come on, let's get this thing up over 400. And actually, Cody, it's funny. I tried to do it that way. I know all the experts out there, the smart people on the internet, say you should start with the prelims. And my fan base just absolutely hated it. They were begging me to switch it back. And I said, you know what? We're going to give it a month. We're going to give it a couple shows. And if I see a bump in numbers, if this works with the algorithm, if more people get to the show because I'm doing it the right way, we're going to leave it. But if that doesn't happen, we'll switch it back. And sure enough, like, there wasn't a big enough influx that I was like, I'm not going to piss my fan base off. They like it the other way. Let's go back to the way everybody likes it.
Well, we do it on Dogger Pass. We start with the main event and we work our way down. But that's because it's pre-recorded show. Like, you record the show and then you put it up to web. So the algorithm will tell you that your average view is 20 minutes. So if someone's only going to watch the show for 20 minutes on average, you're going to start with the main event. You want to get those good fights in early, right? When it's live, I don't know. I feel like it always builds up, but regardless, man, and people could always watch the delayed version after the fact. And again, I think most of these fights could probably be like a co-main event or even a main event on a lot of general fight nights. So, and you know what? Finally, we get to talk about a little bit of value in this next one. So why don't you tee us off?
Here we go. Oh, first chance. I like to think of myself as one of the value boys, as we call ourselves on Twitter, Cody. But we got a shot here. We've got Mackenzie Dern taking on Tecia Torres. And Mackenzie Dern, most of you all who watch this show regularly know that I have got a love-hate relationship with this woman. Mostly I love to hate her because I have tried to fade Mackenzie Dern so much my pockets are empty. Like, Cody, I tell you, she should have been beaten by almost every opponent she's had in the UFC because she's got incredible jiu-jitsu and no takedown ability. And they just volunteer to grapple with her. I don't know. Randa Marcos rocks this chick on the feet and then swan dives into her guard when she thinks she's got her hurt. Like, I don't understand it, how people keep giving this woman her best, clearest path to victory. They're just like, here you go, take it. And finally, my girl, Rodriguez, I know she's championship caliber, but she knew better. And even though everyone knows she's got a hard time on the ground, she was able to keep herself safe the one time she ended up down there, got back up, did her work, dominantly won on the feet. Tecia Torres is like if you hit Marina Rodriguez with a shrink ray. Like, she's the exact same style fighter. She likes to play the outside, use that movement, skip around, hard to hit, crashes in, blitzes on you, strikes in combinations, and then gets back out, man. Like, she's not a finishing threat, but if you can't catch her, you're gonna have a hard time getting her really anywhere. When she got taken down, I had to go back to like the Van Buren fight that she was in. Van Buren got credited with 2 takedowns in that first round, Cody. And I don't know if you've watched that tape recently, but one of those takedowns was her with one knee down, back up against the fence, and she got like 2 minutes of control time in that position. She wasn't in guard. She wasn't on her back. She had a single knee down and was being held against the cage. She's almost impossible to keep on the mat unless she wants to be there. And the second takedown was a hip toss with 0.05 seconds left to go in the round. So, like, she got thrown, lands on her back, and that's the end of the round. That was the second takedown that got credited in that fight. So, like, even though her takedown defense numbers don't sound good, Tecia Torres is incredibly hard to get down and harder to hold down. Like, statistically, it doesn't look great, but if you watch the tape, it tells kind of a bit of a different story. But man, Mackenzie Dern, she's 11-2. I'm scared to push it. I finally broke the curse by cashing the ticket on Marina Rodriguez. I'm a little terrified to go back to the well, fading her again immediately in her next fight. Man, Tecia Torres has been plus 100, even money, all the way up until this point. She opened up, I think, minus 150, minus 140, and it's been money on Dern coming in. You got plus money on Torres, and now it started chipping back away. Looking over at Superbook, Tecia, it's a pick'em. We got minus 110s on either side, and I'm kind of kicking myself, cursing my cowardice here. Tecia Torres has been somebody I've been looking at betting essentially since I saw these lines open up, but I kind of wanted to talk to you because I know I've got the bias against Mackenzie Dern. I know this is the kind of fighter I want to bet against Mackenzie Dern with, but I was just like, man, she's small. Like, I don't know. If Dern gets on her back in one of those scrambles, or if she does a hip throw and gets on top, like, Torres has never been finished before, but Dern's jiu-jitsu is sick, man. Like, what do you think here? Are we rocking with Torres, or what are we doing?
Yeah, we're rocking with Torres. I'm not worried about Torres getting submitted, truth be told. Like, that, to me, is not the major concern. She's never been finished, like you said. She's cast iron. You look at a list of opponents that she's been in there with, and the Jessica Andrades of the world, and the Joanne and Jaceks of the world, and the Wiley Zangs of the world, Zhang Weili. She's just been in there against the who's who of competition. She's durable. She's durable. I'm not concerned about that. What I am concerned about is more of a scenario like we saw recently with Sarah McMahon, Carol Rosa, where you just need to take down in the first and take down in the second. That's it. So we know with Tecia Torres that she shows a 58% takedown defense. And whether or not Brandon Van Buren really, those are really good takedowns and whatnot. Angela Hill's credited with taking her down twice. Angela Hill can't wrestle. There's a lot of opponents that have gotten her down, but she pops up right away. Against Dern, I'm not concerned that she gets taken down and gets submitted. I'm concerned that she gets taken down and can't get back up. If she can't get back up in the first, can't get back up in the second, then just like Sarah McMahon, which was a bum fight, but that's how Sarah McMahon wins fights, right? It would be the same thing with Dern. Dern needs to figure out a way to get this fight to the ground. When she does get the fight to the ground, control it, and hopefully have success. She had very little success against Marina Rodriguez, although she did get one takedown. And when she got said takedown, she controlled the rest of the round after that. It's that it was a 5-round fight. She needed to fight multiple rounds, couldn't do it. This is a 3-round fight. So that same takedown wins you a round, and you can do one more. You can plausibly go up 2-0 going into the 3rd round. And then who cares at that point? I'd be a little more concerned about that. But Tecia is fast, man. She is fast. She dances side to side. She's hard to get a hold of. And I think Dern plays right into her game. Dern likes to have her hands relatively low and kind of plod forward to try to get a hold of you. Tecia loves to counterpunch. Tecia doesn't mind leading the dance and throwing her strikes first, but she prefers when you come after her. She's able to, set traps, stick and move, and then get her hands going that way. Dern's striking just hasn't gotten any advancement. Wrestling hasn't gotten any better. Her jiu-jitsu is world class. But similar to a Rodolfo Vieira, I bring that name up because we obviously had to watch Anthony Hernandez's tape recently. Like, yeah, they're good at jiu-jitsu, but it doesn't necessarily mean if the fight hits the ground instantly it's done, right? Mm-hmm. Torres is a savvy veteran. She's trained with many Brazilian jiu-jitsu world champions. She's trained with some of the best fighters in Colorado at elevation. She's trained some of the best fighters in the world at American Top Team in Florida. She's very well trained. It's that I'm worried a couple takedowns and some ground position could theoretically cause it, but when I look at Tecia, losses to Marina Rodriguez, potentially a future world title challenger. Zhang, former champion. Sorry, not former champion, but again, probably a top contender. Joanna Jacek, former GOAT. Jessica Andrade, multiple time challenger and champion. Rose Namajunas, champion. She doesn't lose to just anybody here, Clint. Even on the Ultimate Fighter, her losses to Carla Esparza, former champion, and about to be a former or title challenger. She only loses to the creme de la creme. At no point do I think Mackenzie Dern is considered the creme de la creme. She's not in that conversation. Her skill set really hasn't advanced. She's hot. She got one hell of an ace on her. And she's gutsy. Like, she'll take a shot. She'll crash forward. She'll try to fight. She's got my respect and admiration. I just don't necessarily think it's going to be enough. So you bet Tecia. And then one thing with Tecia Torres, whenever you bet Tecia Torres, you always bet Tecia by decision, right? I think she's got one finish. Does she have one finish? She beat Sam Hughes when Sam Hughes had like an eye injury after the first. She's a decision machine. Notice. Yeah, UFC debut. Like, come on. So that scenario, okay, she got a finish. Prior to that, she beat Juliana Lima 5 years ago by rear naked choke. And then this is funny. All the other UFC fights, and there's a number of them, by decision. All of her fights prior to coming to the UFC or by decision, and she was like 6-0 as an amateur. All 6 of them by decision. It's crazy. So I would take Tecia Torres and I would take her by decision.
I like it, Cody. I like it, man. I think this is, you kind of hit the nail on the head that if you're gonna bet her, you might as well take her by decision because the way she fights is basically free money. I mean, you just don't see Dern getting finished here, right? Like, she went through 25 minutes with Marina Rodriguez. She's not getting TKO'd by Tecia Torres. She is tough. She is gritty. And then are we really saying Tecia Torres is going to submit Mackenzie Dern? Like, I don't see it, man. Like, she's going to want nothing. The floor is lava. Like, she doesn't want to go down there. She's going to try to stay on her feet, stay away from her. And that's going to be it. That's going to be the fight. So it's either Torres by decision or Dern by sub. Like, those are really the only two possibilities I see in this fight.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't know. I would say Dern by decision or Torres by decision. I think Dern get the fight to the ground. She's just going to control it. I don't think she submits her. She'll just be able to win some round time. And that's what's key here. If you don't have a superior skill set, you need to fight a superior game plan. So I always think when I'm going to bet against somebody, what's the opponent's path to victory? What's their path to victory? If I don't see it, we're betting it. If you can see it, you can see it in the Aljamain Sterling fight. It is there. You can see it in this fight. It is there. Doesn't mean we're going with it. It's that you can't get like too high. I love the line. This is a one good looking line, but I don't want that to cause me to go Tecia Torres second ticket top from the top, or Tecia Torres, significant part of my bankroll. Like, women's MMA. I don't know how you do on women's MMA, but I can tell you how I do on women's MMA. Not that good. Do good on other fights. Doing good in other situations, but like middling heavyweights in women's MMA, tough to call, dude.
I used to call myself the women's MMA whisperer, Cody. Like, I had a real sharp run there. I think it was about 1.5 years ago, and then it's been craziness ever since. And I have stopped calling myself that because you cannot predict these things over and over again. Man, I try to always caution people when it comes to these types of spots. if you think, like, we're going to talk about Jairzinho later, but when Jairzinho is a pick'em, minus 110, and Jairzinho by knockout is plus 120, it's like, why? Like, why go for the plus 120 just in case it's the first fight he ever wins a decision? Because there's not enough value there going from minus 110 to plus 120. It doesn't make sense to risk it for the one time when Francis Ngannou, Kimura'd that guy. Like, everybody that had the knockout prop is groaning because they took even money instead of laying minus 120. You know what I mean? So, like, this is the spot, though, where with Tecia Torres, she's got a proven track record, man. Like, is she knocking people out? No. Is she submitting this particular individual? No. So getting minus 110 or taking the decision prop at plus 150, you're getting 50 cents worth of value. This is the kind of spot where I think you can kind of justify it. But if you don't want to get fancy, just in case, I can completely understand. Take the minus 110. There's nothing wrong with that number.
Yeah. I hear you there, buddy.
All right. Hey, shout out real quick. We got MMA Asphalt saying had to donate because of the fireball shots. And you guys are going nuts tonight. We got 412 live viewers. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us tonight on the Die Hard MMA podcast. And I'm going to get a text from the boss tonight. He's going to be like, Clint, you're drinking every Monday night from now on, because people apparently get generous when I get drunk on camera. So,
well, honestly, if you just set it up that you would take a shot whenever they did donation, dude, you'd be rolling in the donation because they would just want to see you get boozed, right? Once you get boozed, you lose your shirt, you get fired up, and you start talking about greasy prelims. What is a better time than that? I can't think of one.
It's true. But the problem is my liver would die and give out by the time I turn 40. Because Cody, the degenerates in this chat, if I was doing a shot every time I got a tip, I'd be blasted about 6 fights in the car.
If that.
Right. I love these people. All right, let's go. Next fight up, we got Garry taking on Darian Weeks. And those of you looking at Darian Weeks and being like, I know that guy. Why do I know that? We saw him not too long ago, made his short notice UFC debut against Bryan Barberena and had a over 100 significant strikes on the board each. That was a fun back and forth kind of fight. And now he's getting a real challenge here. Garry is the UFC's new baby. They want to prop this kid up, give him a chance to shine. Minus 340 is Garry. Plus 280 is Darian Weeks. And, man, I don't know if this is a gigantic step up in competition for Darian Weeks, because realistically, Garry, skinny Ian Heinisch, Cage Warriors champion, like young kid. But Darian Weeks also kind of fought the ghost of Bryan Barberena. He's not the same guy anymore. Doesn't quite have the power anymore. Really content to retire and live on his farm if the UFC doesn't give him a new contract type of thing. Garry, undefeated, 8-0, Sanford MMA. Like, man, he had a bit of a rough start against Williams in his UFC debut, but corrected the ship, knocked his ass out in the first. I mean, the kid's got slick striking. He's got a good build for the division, looks good, tall, long, good side-to-side movement, decent gas tank, good side kicks, and every once in a while he whips those things high and goes to your head. He's got an underrated ground game, too. That's the thing I think people forget about, is how slick this guy is on the mat. He's got 7 KOs, I think, and then 1 submission. So people don't think he's all that good on the ground, but trust me, like, if you give this guy the opportunity, he's taking a neck home with him. 2-inch reach advantage Garry has. And Darian Weeks, like, we know this guy can keep a high pace, good, strong wrestling on short notice against the UFC vet. Like, damn, dude, I like Garry too, but this is kind of a tall order for a guy that is kind of an appropriate matchup, I feel like, at this point. 8-0 versus 5-1. Like, that's kind of what you would see on the regional scene. Like, I think Garry's the goods. I really do. But Darian Weeks is exactly the kind of guy that could show up and feel a little disrespected in this spot. You know what I mean?
100%. So one thing I try to do, if I got time, is the fights get announced right before a line gets set, is cap it yourself. Cap it yourself before the line gets set. That way, when it comes out, if you're spot on with it, it's like, yeah, we're along the same lines. If you're way off on it, maybe there's no value there. I got this thing capped as like an Garry minus 150, maybe minus 175 range. Like, I think Weeks is going to present a ton of problems for him. And yet, so when you see a minus 350 to minus 400 range price tag, it's It's risky, right? It's risky because the price would suggest that you're going to have a lot of confidence on him. He's the fourth biggest favorite on a card that features some massive favorites. Like, there's obviously a lot of public support from him. He's the Cage Warriors darling. He comes from Europe. When you see Conor McGregor make this huge splash, when you see Paddy Pimblett make this huge splash, there's a lot of public support there coming out of Europe. So sometimes they get jazzed up a little bit bigger than they should. And I just think Ian Garry's probably in the same boat. Like, he's from SPG Ireland. Or he was originally from SPG Ireland, which is a terrible camp. Great for him that he was able to get out of there and move over to Sanford MMA.
Thank God.
He's 24 years old, right? He's still young. He's still malleable, but he still needs to learn a whole bunch of stuff. When you look at his Cage Warriors run, he's fought a lot of these lower end guys. And you probably didn't watch them. Did you watch the Cage Warriors card from this past weekend, Friday, Saturday?
I did watch the Cage Warriors card this weekend. Boy, that was greasy for all those big favorites. For sure, man.
Now, there was 20 Cage Warriors fights between Friday and Saturday. I watched them all. There was one or two guys that I thought had a career, like, outside of European regional. It wasn't talent rich. It wasn't all that talent. But you can beat some guys, get a quick 6-0, 7-0 record, come to North America. Doesn't mean you're not good. It just means you're going to run into some bad roadblocks early on. So he basically runs into that with Jordan Williams because he comes in as a minus 425 favorite over Jordan Williams, and at no point looks good in the early going. He's still young. He got power. Clearly he's got power, but he doesn't really set it up all that well. Jordan Williams is one of these guys that's a little more aggressive, comes forward, has success backing the kid up, has success getting in the kid's face, putting pressure on him, and then just fights like an idiot. Here's a 10-second clapper and just hands down, walks right into him. Like, I don't know what the hell he was thinking, but for the record, he's no longer employed with the organization. So he gets the win, looks good in that regard. But yeah, I think there's a lot of learning that you can do there. So when you see Darian Weeks on paper, well, he's 0-1. He's got a 5-1 record overall. What's there to like? What's there to like? Well, there's a couple things to like. So this guy was 16, or he's 15-4 as an amateur, competed at some of the bigger amateur IMAF tournaments, right? He had 20 amateur fights and did quite well for himself. Fought some pretty good guys. Turns pro, and he also doubles as a professional boxer. He's got a good chin on him. He's got some decent hands. It turns out he's like a former state placer in wrestling, like decent high school wrestling credentials. Guy can wrestle. Guy can box. He's young. He's only like 27 years old. He takes a fight against Brian Barbrain on short notice. He's taking this fight on short notice, cuts weight, short notice, bad weight cut, shows up against a guy that fought tooth and nail with Vicente Luque. Had Vicente Luque in some pretty bad spots. Fought Leon Edwards. Fought some of the best guys. He fought Kamaru Usman. He's fought some of the best guys in the sport. Has Brian Barberena. Mm-hmm. You're making a debut against him on short notice. You looked like he had a lot of potential. He gave Brian Barberena a go, right? He didn't have the cardio on that night because it's short notice. He's on front of the bright lights for the first time. There was a lot you could like out of him. Now he's got a full camp.
Close. That was a good fight,
man. It was a good fight. He landed volume. His wrestling looked on point. Like, all this from a guy making his debut on short notice. So now with a full camp under him, more experience, has 3 rounds under his belt for UFC experience. Ian Garry's got 1 round of UFC experience. He knocked a guy at the 459 mark after not looking all that good. This guy at least experienced it, soaked it in. Didn't get his hand raised, but he's going to come back a better, more improved fighter. Still young enough that he's making improvements. What's there not to like about him in this spot? And Garry's just way too big of a favorite. So I would be inclined to say Garry. I got him capped as the favorite. I think he should be the favorite. But Clint, you know this game as good as anybody. The favorite's going to win all the time? No. If you're a value boy, Darian Weeks has got some value for sure. So leave that one up to you and however you decide to attack it. But like, if you were thinking of pulling the trigger on Weeks, I don't think you're far off. I don't think you're wrong. I think the read's there. I think he could win this fight. Garry might be a little bit more hype than anything else. And Weeks might be an opponent that's flying under the radar, but could low-key teach him a thing or two. So should be an interesting one.
I'm right there with you, Cody. I mean, this is a spot where there's only one single man who was retired undefeated from the sport of MMA at the UFC level, and that's Khabib. Like, you don't do that. Eventually, everybody's got to take their first L. And like I said, this is a very appropriate matchup. I think Ian Garry should be a favorite slightly. I don't agree with this gigantic minus price tag. The favorites we talked about a minute ago, the guys up at the top of the card, okay, all right, like I get it. Those guys should be big favorites. But Ian Garry, like, I don't know, man. Like this one, it's a little steep for this spot. And if you're the type of person who, and now I know you do this with your PRPs, but like if you're the just win parlay type, like you don't give a shit about the line as long as the guy gets their hand raised at the end of the day, like, all right, I'll side with you. I think Ian Garry probably gets the win, but I think Darian Weeks is live as hell, and he's going to show up. And you talked earlier about guys that'll fight for your money. Darian Weeks proved in his UFC debut that this man will fight for your money. Like, he's coming for it. And I want to see what he looks like on a full camp. One thing that we noted is that he slowed down there at the end of the third round. Like in the third round, he definitely started edging off a little bit. He was a little bit more hittable. He wasn't quite as sharp. And that's something that I want to monitor, that I'm like, okay, so is that just him? Is that because he pushes the pace? Is that because he's a wrestler and uses muscle for everything? Or was that because he was short notice? Because if it was because he was short notice and he can go 15 minutes hard on a full camp, we could see a different fight here on Saturday. So some questions surrounding this one. Personally, at this number, I'm not parlaying Ian Garry. I think it's a dog or pass. But the one spot where I'm maybe looking at sniping Cody. You know, one of the things, actually, you know what, here, let me pause real quick on that thought. Put a pin in it. Wait for just a second for me, everybody, because I'll come back to that. Y'all know about my sponsorship here with Superbook Sports. All the lines here on this show are brought to you by Superbook Sports. You know how they offer everybody like the odds boosts, and it always makes you sketched out as hell. You're like, why is the bookie giving me extra money on this play? Like, I don't know about you guys, but I always feel sketchy about it. I'm like, if you've got an underdog that's plus 115 and they're giving you plus 150 on them because it's the sportsbook odd boost, I'm like, trap. Like, that's the first thing I think. I'm like, trap. They want you to put your money on that spot. Guys, I'm going to get together with Superbook Sports this week, and we're going to get some Die Hard MMA odds boosts. MMA going forward, we're getting my chosen odds boosts over there at Superbook Sports. So I was going to put a tweet out about this and let people respond, but you know what? Those Twitter people are a little flaky. Not all of them watch the show. I'm keeping it for the live viewers here. There's something that you want as an odds boost, I'm your guy. Get in the comment section. Now, obviously, live chat right now, it's going to be deleted, but like after the show is over, jump in the comment section. Tell me what odds boost you want for this weekend, and I'll send it up the chain. I'll see if I can't get us an odds boost. But you guys know I like to do my degenerate parlays, so I'm sure that's going to be one of them. I pick 2 or 3 finished props, and I tie them together and just put a little sprinkle on it for a crazy payout. We've hit a couple of them. We were just one submission. We were just one little tap away from one a week or two ago. Damn it, Takashi Sato. Almost hit another one. But so one thing I'm going to look at and probably tie into a parlay like that this weekend, Cody, my little Hail Marys, is Ian Garry by submission. The man is plus 700 to win by sub. And he's got that nasty ground game. He's got a good guillotine on him. He's got a tight squeeze on him. We know Sanford MMA has got some serious, grappling chops over there for him to work with. And what I noticed from Darian Weeks is that later in the fight, when he got tired, he left his neck out there for those takedowns. Brian Barberena didn't take advantage of it, but I think someone like Ian Garry can and will. So I don't know that Ian Garry is going to be able to bop on the feet and knock him out. He seems tough. He seems gritty. He seems durable. 7-1 on a sub prop. I like that. If this fight gets deep, if it gets late and he starts to slow down just a little bit, I think Ian Garry can grab a neck. The club and sub is always an option. If he hurts him, rocks him, makes him panic wrestle, then he can get the sub on him. I'm not betting Ian Garry money line. It's Darian Weeks. Take a shot on the dog. Maybe bet some violence. Maybe take Ian Garry by submission. Like, those are kind of the ways that I'm approaching this fight moving forward. But Ian Garry sub at plus 700. I'm not sure if I'm going to throw a straight bet on that or if it'll be in one of my Hail Mary parlays. But that's kind of the way I'm looking here.
Yeah, fair enough. I think I'm going to look at it from a live betting perspective. I think Darian Weeks might be competitive in the first bit. That should knock down the live market from minus 450 to maybe minus 225. If Weeks can even manage to win the first round and you don't feel good about it, don't bet it. If you do feel good about it and you think he is starting to slow down, then I'd take Garry. But the two things that really got me hung up on it is that, one, with Darian Weeks, Brian Barberena walks around at like 215 pounds. Like, he's fucking huge. He's a gigantic guy, right? He cuts down to the weight class. Nobody knows how, but he's a really big dude. So fighting him on short notice and fighting a big guy who's a pressure fighter like Brian Barberena, I give you a pass there. But Ian Garry, you mentioned it your best earlier. Everyone's got to lose eventually. So he's 24. When Paddy Pimblett was 24, he was the shit. Everyone was like, oh, this guy's going to be the next Conor McGregor. And he ends up losing to Nad Narimani, who fought maybe 2 or 3 times in the UFC after that, kind of fanned out, right? But it was like a big upset at the time. It was like, whoa, no one saw him losing to Nad. He's only 24, right? When he's also 24, he loses to Soren Bak, who's a Scandinavian prospect. It's just like, who fights for Bellator now. It's just like, this guy's not that good. This guy's not that good. Now he's 27. Now you see that he's still green, but you see he's a lot better now, further along. You need the setbacks. Garry, to me, is the same thing. He should stay in Cage Warriors and win 3, 4, 5 more fights, right? Develop yourself. Instead, he's from a camp and there's some drama. By the way, I think he got kicked out of SBG Ireland and ended up at Sanford MMA. So, yeah, look into that one. I don't know, man. It's all there, but I think I'm just going to make my decision after the first round, and I think I'll get a better price on it. I'll get a worse price on Weeks, but can still get dog money. But we'll get a better price on Garry if that was the direction you want to go.
I don't hate it. That's not a bad way to approach it, man. Because, yeah, if Weeks is going to be in this thing for real, you'll get, maybe a worse price tag on it. But that's where, if you're betting in live, just get that win. If you're getting plus 150 on him, sure, you missed out on the plus 280. But if he's looking damn good, like that still could be the side at that number. So I don't hate it. Live betting, maybe good opportunity. We're both going to go with Ian Garry pre-flop, but confidence is lacking on this one.
Fair.
Hey, everybody. Right before we jump in here to our next fight, of course, we got to take just a quick little break and hear from our sponsors. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Die Hard MMA Podcast. I'm joined by the GOAT himself, your boy Cody Saftic, and we're talking UFC 273. Next up, Jairzinho Rozenstruik taking on Marcin Tybura, and a quick donation from the GOAT Tajik Bey. Thank you very much, my friend. We appreciate it here. Those of you who with me always know Marcin Tybura, public enemy number 1. He's mid. End of story. He's mid. I don't like the guy. He's getting older there. He has a good solid ground game. He's not the biggest guy. Doesn't have the best gas tank. Relies on walking forward, eating shots, drag you deep, get you to the ground. And man, it just works. Like, he's another one of these guys that I keep losing money trying to fade. And people have gotten nice plus price tags on him because I keep thinking people are going to knock his ass out. I mean, this was the spot where Walt Harris, I really thought Walt was going to get him out of there, but we know the story with Walt. He's only got 4 minutes worth of gas, emptied the tank trying to land those bombs basically on the biceps and shoulders of Tybura, and gave up after a couple of minutes there. But Jairzinho's my boy, Cody. This guy's got the death touch. Like, I know we always talk about it, but he exploded the face of Alistair Overeem. Like, there are few people that have the power like Jairzinho Rozenstruik. So if there is anybody that's going to be able to stay in this thing, defend the takedown, keep it standing, and then pop one big shot that caves a guy in who has a suspect chin, I'm thinking it's Jairzinho. I'm a little disappointed. I was looking at this line a while ago. He was, minus 110 pick'em type of spot. And I thought, you know what? I want Jairzinho. But I've been on such a bad run lately. I figured I'd wait. I'd wait it out. Now he's minus 160. So the money has come in on Jairzinho. You can still get the KO prop at like plus 120 or so. I don't hate either money line or KO prop. I was listening to an interview with James Lynch. Shout out my guy, James Lynch, always doing some awesome interviews and stuff for us. Jairzinho has really been working on like his grappling, his wrestling, his cardio. You look at his Instagram, he looks slimmer. I do think this is a spot where he only loses to the cream of the crop. And Marcin Tybura is a guy that's always floated in that mid-range, if I'm being honest. I don't think he's a title challenger. I don't think he's challenging for a belt ever, a crack in the top 5. So I think it's same old story. Marcin Tybura puts a good couple wins together against some mid and low-level competition, takes a step up, and then takes a canvas nap. I like Jairzinho here by KO. What do you think, Cody?
Yeah, I got the same thing. I think Jairzinho Rozenstruik's got the power. I think if he touches him up, he's going to put him away. You mentioned the Walt Harris fight. Walt Harris kind of goes out there and, kind of gasses himself out within the first 4 minutes, gets TKO'd. More concerning is the Greg Hardy fight. Greg Hardy is putting hands on Tybura. He is touching him up with the jab. He hits him up with a couple straight crosses down the gut. He is just beating him up. Doesn't quite put him away and then gasses him out. I mean, he needs his puffer between rounds. When that's not made available to him, he gasses out. And, of course, Greg Hardy just not all that good as an MMA fighter. Rozenstruik, you don't want to be getting hit. He's got a tremendous amount of power. I always say when people call Curtis Blades chinny, say Curtis Blades only loses to, the greatest power puncher the sport has seen, right? I mean, Francis Ngannou hits on a different level. He's the greatest power puncher I've ever seen in heavyweight MMA. Derek Lewis, or maybe the second hardest guy I think I've ever seen in heavyweight MMA. And Rozenstruik's number 3. This guy's got legitimate power. His problem, unlike the other guys, is he's just way too tentative. He just allows rounds to slip away from him. The JDS fight, he loses the first round on all 3 scorecards, doesn't look good, but finally touches in the second round, puts him away. The Cyril Gane fight, he does absolutely nothing. This Curtis Blades fight, he does absolutely nothing. They're tough performances to watch because Tybura didn't get any of them, but he shot 14 takedowns against Alexander Volkov in his last fight. So he's not interested in striking. He's interested in shooting takedown to kill the space, push you up against the cage, and hold you up against the cage. And could, in theory, Tybura do that to Rozenstruik? He knows he doesn't want to stand in front of this guy. Are you kidding me? But could he not press the action, shoot multiple takedowns? If he gets them, great. If he doesn't get them, keep him pressed up against the cage. You minimize the damage, right? You maximize your chance of just killing round time off. And they're going to say, well, at least Tybura was pressing him into the cage, landing a couple of knees to the thigh, all that bullshit. Again, there's a strategy that would involve a bad fight, a boring fight, that Tybura could win. But 15 minutes is a long time with Rozenstruik, man. Good luck. So when I pre-bet this thing a week ago, because I got the 3 big favorites, but Chimaev, Petr Yan, and of course the headliner, you put them all together, Volkanovski, you needed other pieces. You needed other pieces to juice it up. The pieces that I saw was Tecia Torres, Rozenstruik, Mike Malott, who we'll talk about in a little bit. But I'm on the same page with you, man. I think eventually he's going to find that kill shot. Might not present itself right away. Might be a little bit boring right away. But Tybura's game plan would have to be takedown. And that's a tough game plan because if you get tired at any point or you get caught coming in at any point, it's all over for you. And when you called him middling, you called him that mid-level. He's kind of been there. He's starting to get a little bit older and it's not getting any better. I'm going to agree with you. Polish power is only working for Jan Blachowicz, and even he's looking a little shot forward, if I may say myself. So, we got Rozenstruik, and I think it was a good price. Minus 160, it's heavyweights, okay? The bigger the price goes, the more it's going to be greasy. You don't love it. But when it was even money, flip a coin. I want the Rozenstruik side for sure.
Absolutely. That's that nuclear option, man. If the fight's close, if it's all going wrong, you just need the one.
That's it, man.
I'm with you, man. And honestly, at minus 150, minus 160, I'm still tempted. I think I'm still probably going to jump in on Jairzinho just because, again, this is my process. I'm looking for spots where I can fade Marcin Tybura. This is a spot where I think I can fade Marcin Tybura. Don't get it twisted, though. When you look at Jairzinho Rozenstruik and you pull up his numbers and you look at UFC stats, he is not as tall as they say he is. He's like 5'10", and they've got him listed at 6'1". So don't be shocked when they face off, and he's a decent chunk, little bit shorter than Marcin Tybura. But man, this is, believe it or not, I do think it's Jairzinho KO, but I think the decision is not impossible in this spot because Marcin Tybura really relies on getting in there and getting those takedowns. So it's not like he's going to stick and move in the big cage. It's not like he's going to leg kick and run. And Marcin Tybura really doesn't do well on the back foot. When you've got him backpedaling, when you've got him backing up, it's everything he can do just to avoid some of the damage. Usually Biggie Boy is the one coming forward. So I've got a hard time seeing Marcin Tybura outstriking Biggie Boy because if he does that, he's got to engage. And if he engages, He's going to get hit and he's going to get hurt. So if Jairzinho takes maybe a little bit more of a controlled approach, sometimes he's kind of low volume. Believe it or not, I could see him getting his hand raised at the end of this fight because Marcin Tybura is a little too scared to get in close and get shucked off for 1 or 2 takedowns when he does make the effort and doesn't quite get them.
Yeah, fair enough, man.
Hey, shout out Big Steve. Thank you so much for the donation. The bookie's favorite capper, Clint. Yeah, I've had a little bit of a rough run, but you're my favorite tipper right now. So if the $10 was worth it to you for the jab, hey, go right ahead, Big Steve. Send me another 10. Insult me all you want. I'll read it on camera for you, baby. Let's go. Next fight up, Aspen Ladd taking on Raquel Rocky Pennington. And you know what? I've said shit like this all night tonight, Cody. I really have. But Rocky's my girl. Like, Rocky is female Neil Magny. It's death, taxes, and Rocky by decision. Like, that's all that happens. She only loses to the absolute elite of the elite. Like, look at her record. You're not beating Raquel Pennington if you don't hold gold, man. Holly Holm, Jermaine Durandamy, Amanda Nunes, Holly Holm again, Jessica Andrade, Kat Zingano. Like, yeah, there's Leslie Smith in there, but you got to go back all the way to 2013 for that one. Like, man, yeah, Raquel Pennington only loses to the very best of the best. She's big. She's physically strong. She's got a pace. She's hard to take down. Like, like I said, Neil Magny, she just pins you up against the fence. She just slows your ass down, grinds time off the clock, and here she is taking on Aspen Ladd. Aspen Ladd is MMA's darling. Everybody loves the crap out of her, and one of the biggest mistakes of my betting career was when I broke down Aspen Ladd versus Norma Dumont to a T, Cody. I got it perfectly on the show. And then all the little voices started whispering. I listened to some people and I talked to some friends and shit, man, maybe Aspen Ladd does have that power. Damn it. Maybe she does have the cardio. Her wrestling is pretty damn good. And I cashed out on a 2-unit bet plus money, Norma Dumont. And then she goes out there and just rolls, man. Like, I will forever kick myself for cashing out on that ticket. Aspen Ladd's a good prospect. She's young. She's tough. She's durable. She's a freaking banshee. She goes out there, and if she gets on top of you, she is absolutely capable of finishing anybody out there, but she's got to get on top of you. She's not a Russian wrestler. She doesn't chain together takedowns. I think she's going to have a hard time getting Rocky 2.0 refocused Raquel Pennington to the mat, and if she does, I think she's going to have a harder time keeping her there. I think that Rocky just kind of wears Aspen Ladd down, and we see your classic Rocky by decision. I've only made 2 bets on this card so far before the show, Cody. One of those was Raquel Pennington, but I got her at minus 140, minus 145 much earlier in the week. As soon as that line dropped, I went, wow, I'm taking that. Like, without even digging into it, I knew I wanted that one. So I snagged Raquel Pennington minus 145. She's minus 190, minus 200 pretty much everywhere right now. I can understand people maybe wanting to talk themselves into a dog shot on Aspen Ladd. But for me personally, she's a fade until I see otherwise. And I think that even Pennington coming in here on short notice, man, this feels like a sniper spot to me. This feels like a legend of the women's MMA scene going, I can beat that chick and taking a spot because she knows. You know what I mean? So I've got a hard time seeing the short notice being a problem for Raquel Pennington, but I want to hear your thoughts. What you got, man?
Well, this one I might have a drink for.
Oh, I'll join you.
I'm gonna tell you something. I got Aspen Ladd. Yeah. I know.
That worries me.
I know. She's my baby. What a letdown she is. Let's talk about Raquel Pennington first of all. Why I can't get behind her. So, at one time she was title challenger. She beats Miesha Tate. It was an underdog win. Sets her up for a world title fight. She takes on Amanda Nunes, who's the GOAT. No problem there. Going into the 5th round, she tells her corner, "I quit. I don't want to be here. I'm done fighting." Her corner push her out for the 5th round. You can't quit. Go out. She goes in and gets TKO'd. I never really thought she was all the same coming back. She fought Jermaine Durandamy. She missed weight, came in at 138 pounds, looked lethargic, couldn't get any takedowns going against Durandamy, loses. She won a split decision over Irene Aldana. I did think she won the fight, but looked lethargic, looked slow, extremely plodding. Bad fight. Then she loses to Holly Holm. Losing to Holly Holm, not a problem. Assuming Holly Holm just outboxed you or, used range from the outside. Holly Holm out-grappled her. Straight up, clean out-grapples her. That's the rematch. So at no point has she come back from the Nunes fight and looked good. But then she gets Marion Renault. That was Marion Renault's 43rd birthday was that fight, by the way. So she gets taken down twice by a 43-year-old single mother who's a physical ed teacher. But she wins. Penny Khamzat is a Swedish Muay Thai fighter with a suspect gas tank. Penny takes her down. She gets Macy Chason, who's just a career bust. Chason takes her down, but she does end up, she looked better in that fight to me. She's fighting extremely limited levels of competition. I know you can say she's only losing to the best, but it's not as if she's fighting mid-range fighters. She either fights the best or she fights nothing in between, like kind of these lower-end fighters. So she can break them on pace. She's still super rugged. She's still tough. She doesn't show great takedown defense. She's been taken down in her last 3 fights and overall only has like 64% in the UFC. Yeah, I think Aspen Ladd could be a problem. Now you talk about Ladd's last fight. You broke it down with Norma Dumont and this and that. People don't want to talk about narrative, but sometimes it's important to talk about narrative. So she's supposed to fight Macy Chason 2 weeks earlier at 135 pounds. Gets deathly ill, sick, shows up to the scales, teeth are chattering. They call the fight off. She's ill. 2 weeks later, this person who just got hospitalized due to sickness from weight cutting issues is supposed to take another fight up at 145 pounds against Norma Dumont, who's gigantic, is one of the few legitimate 145-pound fighters on the roster. That's a tough task, man. It's a different opponent. You didn't prepare for her. You got to move up a weight class, and you were just sick. What kind of training camp can you put in for this? And it's a 5-round fight. She got the worst advice ever from her corner, but she kept with it, man. Her striking is a work in progress. She leaves her chin out there. Defensively, she's not sound. But assuming she doesn't have a bad weight cut, because the Jermaine Durandamy fight, same thing, bad weight cut, gets knocked out. She doesn't have terrible durability. Her wrestling is good enough that she could get the fight to the ground. If she does get the fight to the ground, she'll have the better output. She'll have the better pace. I think if it stays standing, who let the dogs out? Aspen Ladd is the dog. All right, that sealed it for me. That sealed That sealed it for me. If there was some god from up above, he's telling me take that dog shot on Ladd. So I'm going to do that. Every card needs some dogs. I'll take me some Aspen Ladd.
Oh, I'm a big believer in the dogs background barking on the streams, Cody.
Oh,
I love that play, and that makes me terrified here because I dropped a hammer on Rocky Pennington. Now I beat the line movement so well, I may have to hedge a little bit on this
Trust
one.
your gut. You got to trust your gut.
Nah, but I can get, plus 170, plus 190. I could hedge 1 or 2 units and make a nice little middle there for myself relatively easy on this one. No, but I hear you, man. I absolutely hear you. I think one of the big things that we got to take advantage of here in this spot, though, we got to watch those weigh-ins because we know what goes on with Ladd on the scales. It's terrifying every time she tries to make 135, and here we are. This fight is set for 135. I put out a tweet earlier in the week, Cody. I was like, what day are we going to find out that this fight is taking place at 145? Which day of the week is that call coming through? Because I am not convinced that Ladd is capable of making 135. I just don't think she can do it safely. I don't think she can do it and, do it healthily, if that's even a word. So, man, wait till Friday. If she makes weight at 135 and looks like a dime on the scales, which we've never seen before, then fuck, man, maybe back Aspen Ladd. Maybe get plus 170 on Aspen Ladd and go for it because she's ready to go. If the call comes in and this thing's taking place at 145, I'm going to not like my Rocky Pennington bet quite as much. Even though I know she can compete up at 145, Ladd will definitely have the freshness, the size advantage. I'll be a little bit more uncomfortable. I'm kind of banking on the fact that this is at 135 and I'm going to get bad weight cut Aspen Ladd on Friday. And especially if you've got any type of chink in your armor, if that gas tank is not quite where it needs to be, Rocky's going to cook you. And that's how it goes. So, yeah, man, I hate that we're head-to-head here, but I know Ladd is your baby. I know, it's your baby versus my girl. So we'll see what happens here, man. We're head-to-head on one.
Sounds good.
It's going to be fun either way, man. I'm looking forward to it. All right. Next up, we got Mickey Gall taking on Mike Malott. And this is a super intriguing fight to me, man. Mickey Gall is a guy that has basically grown up in front of us in the UFC. Like he was a guy that got brought in way too early and has really floundered and struggled and fought his way back up. And it's been a tough run for Mickey Gall. He's been kind of alternating wins and losses, but let's give the kid a little bit of credit. He has been showing improvements. He has been getting better. We've seen some things, impressive stuff from him. His hands are improving. Jeez, all right, the fireball's kicking in. Matt Brown has turned Mickey Gall into a man over the last little bit here. But now he's moved out to Sanford MMA, and that's another good move. It's a hot spot, good gym, good training partner, good coaches. He's a high-level BJJ black belt. For whatever reason, seems to like to brawl instead of going to his grappling, which is a little bit weird. But, hey, he's got some pop in his hands. He showed that in his last win over Williams. Mike Malott's a guy that I'll be honest with you, Cody, I don't know a ton about. He's training out of Team Alpha Male. He's a good, solid BJJ black belt as well. Snapped the neck off of his boy on the Dana White Contender Series. I love me some Contender Series fade, Cody. When it's the Contender Series guy, first fight in the UFC, and they come in as a solid favorite over somebody who's been proven at this level, even if they're a little shaky at the UFC level, the fact they've been there before, that first fight is the spot to go ahead and fade those Contender Series guys, and that's what we've got here. Mike Malott is a minus 190 favorite. Mickey Gall is a plus 170 underdog, and normally I blind bet the Contender Series fade, Cody. This is a spot where I kind of think Mike Malott is the goods. I really think that he's almost like a mirror matchup of Mickey Gall, and maybe Mickey's picked up some stuff over at Sanford MMA. Maybe he looks better than he ever has before, but like his whole thing is he's got that ground game in his back pocket. I think Mike Malott's a better grappler. Mickey Gall's striking. He's got those heavy hands, but he's a little herky-jerky. I think Mike Malott might be a better striker. I don't know, man. I'm having a tough time on this one. What do you think about this fight? Tell me about Mike Malott, because I know you probably know more than I do here.
Yeah, so first of all, Mickey Gall is not really that good of a grappler. I mean, if you look at it, like he was supposed to out-grapple Diego Sanchez, and Diego Sanchez big brothered him, kicked the shit out of him. That's a bad look, right? He was supposed to out-grapple Salim Touari, but it was a decision. Mike Perry out-grappled Mickey Gall, tired him out, took him down, beat the shit out of him, and out-grappled him. So I don't know where he's getting this world-class grappling, but Mike Malott is, in fact, a very good grappler. So,
world-class jiu-jitsu. I think his subs are on point, but yeah, the wrestling, the grappling overall, shaky.
yeah. And Mickey Gall's well-trained. Like, his black belt's legit. Like, his coach is super legit. But here's what you got to realize with Mickey Gall. Just look at the trend on him, right? So he starts off in New Jersey, a little bit of time at Renzo Gracie, New Jersey, and then he trains at the Miller Brothers camp, right? Dan and Jim Miller's camp in New Jersey, leaves the camp in New Jersey, okay, and goes out to American Top Team. Spends a little bit of time at American Top Team, leaves American Top Team, and goes to TriStar. Spends a little bit of time at TriStar, leaves TriStar, ends up back in California training with Joe Schilling, right? Leaves Joe Schilling, ends up at Sanford MMA. He's a gym jumper. He's been a gym jumper his entire career. You look at it from the get-go with this guy, right? He defeats CM Punk, right? But he's 24 years old. So maybe he could grow into something, right? Maybe he could be something down the road. His losses are legitimate guys. Randy Brown, Diego Sanchez, Mike Perry, Alex Morono, none of which are world class, but all of which are like top 15, fringe 15. Morono's fringe 15. Perry's fringe 15. Diego Sanchez is not fringe 15. But Randy Brown's fringe 10. Randy Brown's pretty okay. But his wins are just super low level. Jordan Williams is cut. Salim Touari's cut. George Sullivan's cut and retired. Sage Northcutt's cut. CM Punk's cut and retired. Mike Jackson, who the hell knows? So at no point has he ever defeated anybody worth mention. His losses to fringe 15 guys at best. He's now low-key 30 years old. He's moved over to 6 of the best camps in the world. He's trained with some of the best guys. Just doesn't stay in one spot. To me, he's not really getting all that better. Here's the one issue that I have here is that Mike Malott, my boy, okay? Mike Malott, they tell me this is 2014, okay? I'm matchmaking a show, SCC, Substance Cage Combat, and Mike Malott's coach, Peter Martel from out east, contacts me. He says, I've got the next Georges St. Pierre. Not wrestling-wise, but he's the next big thing. He's going to be undefeated Canadian prospect, best guy in the country. I can't find anybody for him to fight. He's 3-0 at the time, 3 first-round finishes. I look high and low. Find a guy, Michael Karkula, right? 6-0, BJJ brown belt, karate black belt. Guy was legit. Fight's getting ready to go down. Karkula gets hurt, pulls out. I find Alan Wilson, God rest his soul, dead now, takes the fight, gets in there with Mike Malott, and Mike Malott destroys him. Minute 29, knees up the gut, smokes him. It was like, yo, this guy is going to be one badass prospect. Everybody loves Mike Malott. He's the top guy in the country. Takes a fight with Hakeem Dawodu on a World Series of Fighting show, right? Fight starts. Malott takes him down. Hakeem gets back up. They call him Mean Hakeem for a reason. He was a Muay Thai standout, multiple-time national champion, and obviously has a pretty good UFC career going for himself right now. So Hakeem gets back up and knocks him senseless. Here's where the story for me becomes concerning. So he had 3 first-round finishes. He beats Alan Wilson first round. He loses to Hakeem in the first round. Okay, he fights Thomas Diang on Bellator a year later. The first round, Mike Malott 10-8, crushes Diang. Second round, he gasses out, loses the second round. Third round, he loses the third round. It's a draw because he had a first round 10-8, loses second and third. Next fight with Craig Shintani, 36 seconds. Next fight with Solomon Renfro, got rocked early in the first round, but then takes him down, chokes him out minute 42 in the first round. Szymon Smoryński chokes him out 39 seconds in the first round. I think he's much better than Mickey Gall. I really do. I don't know for sure that if this thing goes second and third round, he's not going to fade away. And as much as I was shitting on Mickey Gall, and he's experienced, man. He's fought at the UFC 10 times. He's been in big spots. He's been in bad spots. He's had bad decisions. He's had fights that he's had to persevere a little bit in. He's not a total write-off. So if Malott is not in shape, Malott hasn't fought into a second round in 7 years. 7 years since he's been to the second round. That all creates red flags. And I got him at minus 185, and I didn't love the price then, but I got him there. But now he's like, what's he on your book? He was minus 205 when I looked this morning. Like, the money's coming in on him, and I think he's going to win. But because he might just be a first-round guy, yeah, that's not terrible. Well, what it comes down to me is that the Szymon Smoryński fight, and he was a big favorite here. No, he wasn't. Minus 165. And I load up on him, and everyone says, man, Szymon Smoryński is legit. He's 7-0, great this, great that. He's 21 years old. He's 21 years old. How many kids do you, because Malott's a coach sorry, I missed a big part of the story, right? So proper Malott's kicking ass. He loses to Hakeem Dawodu, and then he loses, or that draw with Diang, and he takes 2 full years off. Comes back, beats Shintani, takes 2 full more years off. Comes back, he's averaged 1 fight. He had this neck issue. He had like bad whiplash, a creative vertigo, and he basically retired. Took a coaching job at Team Alpha Male, coaching. Some doctor down in California checks out his neck, finds the issue, boom, career back on track. Apparently, he's a hell of a coach. Apparently, we used to wish each other happy birthdays, blah, blah, blah. I match made a fight for him. I did nothing for his career. Well, I'm just happy to see him go on. But like, we used to have a better relationship. And just now he's established in California. He hasn't been home in like years. He's originally from Ontario and went to university out in like Nova Scotia. So he moved out east, spent time out there, and then now he's his California head coach. But when he fought Szymon Smoryński's 21, okay? And Mike Malott, how many talented 21-year-old kids do you think walk into Team Alpha Male every day? The mat is littered with talented 21-year-old kids. So he just smokes this kid because it's like, oh shit, he knows all the setups. To me, Gall's 30 years old, but Gall's still a rookie. He still makes a lot of rookie moves. And I think if it stays standing, he'll have a decent first round, but Malott should be able to find the mark. And if the fight hits the ground, I think that Mike Malott should take over. But the fact that he hasn't fought into a second round in 7 years, concerning. The fact that Hakeem Dawodu knocked him out and Solomon Renfro rocked him pretty good. His chin might not be all that good. This could be greasier than it needs to be. But the pick is Malott, and I am playing Malott, of course. I'm going to go with my Canadian brethren on this one. But like, it's not like a slam dunk, take it to the bank.
Okay. That's fair, man. I appreciate the insight. Love the in-depth story for sure. I couldn't find a whole lot on Malott, if I'm being honest. So like, that was definitely helpful. I just, if there's anybody that I'm not banking on to finish and take over in the later rounds, it's Mickey Gall. Like, the guy's got his own cardio issues. So this one could get ugly if it doesn't finish in the first round, because I don't think either of these guys is going to have gas in the third.
Yeah, fair enough. Anyways, I got to split. So I'm going to give you just my quick take on the last bit. I'll give you the rundown, and then you can take over.
Go for it.
Vince Pichel, Mark Madsen, gotta wait for Paul's opinion on Wednesday. He is the Vince Pichel whisperer. He's never got a Vince Pichel pick wrong, right, or in defeat. But Madsen's excellent wrestler, pushes too high of a pace, right? Everything he does is too much energy. He can get takedowns, but he can't hold guys down. Vince Pichel, ultra strong, a guy that is difficult to hold down to begin with. I think Madsen will get tired. Vince Pichel will start to take over. He probably wins up a decision. Vanderaa versus Aleksei Oleinik. I think this is ridiculously good value on Jared Vanderaa. Vanderaa, he can't wrestle, he can't grapple, he can't this and that. He is a BJJ black belt, okay? His submission defense, not too bad. His ability to sustain ground and pound, not good. But the guys that are taking him down are legitimate wrestlers, okay? Aleksei Oleinik's a former middleweight. Lost to Chael Sonnen at 185 pounds. Moved up to 205, got fanned out of Bellator. He's not a particularly big heavyweight. He's taking on a dude that's 6'4", 265. If he does manage to get him down in the first round, I'm not ruling it out. That scarf hold won't work. The Ezekiel won't work. Second and the third round, he's not going to get the takedown. Vandera's got good cardio for a big man. He's going to keep this fight standing. He'll piece him up. He'll win 2 and 3. This is a pick'em fight by the odds. Really like Vanderaa, but it's heavyweight, so grain of salt. Hernandez versus Frem, this could be a trap. Anthony Hernandez should win the fight. He hasn't fought in a year. He's bailed out of his last 3 fights, I believe, but his striking's just okay. His grappling looks good, but wrestling just okay. He seems to be of a generalist. Josh Frem, don't love the guy, but he does train at Factory X Muay Thai, Colorado. Cardio looks pretty good. He likes to engage. He likes to throw strikes. He does not move his head. He doesn't have an excellent chin. Gregory Rodriguez arranged this guy pretty good. But if Hernandez's last win over Vieira, it's recency bias. It looks great. But Vieira was a punching bag. He gassed out and became a punching bag. Frem's cardio is not bad. He could hang with them, and this becomes a 15-minute striking battle. Could be greasier than it needs be. So this would be lower end. Piera Rodriguez, she looks decent enough. She trains with Mackenzie Dern. She trains with Vanessa Demopoulos. She trains with a lot of the girls that are at that Black House camp. She looks solid, 29 years old, already got a pretty well-rounded skill set. Kate Hansen's been a busted prospect, but she's still young. She's still getting better. Women's MMA could go either way. I'd lean Piera Rodriguez. And Arche Santos. The problem with this Santos dude is he's a dog, and I don't like betting against dogs. I think Arche is faster than him. I think Arche's got the better striking than him. I think Arche's got more experience than him. I think Arche should win this fight. But when you watch tape on Daniel Santos, this Ari dos Santos chokes him out in the 3rd round, right? Jose Alexander knocks him out in the 3rd round. Cleverson Silva spinning back to the body, 1st round. Goes to Russia, right? He's taking guys out. He's got a lot of 3rd round finishes on his record. He seems to just swing for the fences. And Arche could potentially be a little bit chinny, but I mean, his jab should work money here. Everything this guy throws is loopy, right? Nothing's straight, nothing's linear. A guy that's fast in a big cage that can jab and backpedal will be fine. Arche might be a tad bit chinny. You've seen him dropped in the past. You've seen him knocked out for the first time in his most recent fight. So 2-1, it's not the greatest price tag, but he should be able to piece him up. So effectively, to give you the rundown, if you're just tuning in right now, we're going with the big favorites, of course. We've got Alexander Volkanovski. I think he gets it done by TKO. We're going to go with Petr Yan by decision. We're going to go with Chimaev by TKO. Tecia Torres by decision. Give me the first dog. I'll take Darian Weeks. By decision. Darian Weeks by decision. Jairzinho Rozenstruik by knockout. Aspen by decision. Mike Malott by decision. Vince Pichel by decision. Jared Vanderaa by TKO. What's the line you got on Hernandez versus Josh Frem?
So I have got Hernandez minus 180. Frem is plus 160.
I'll take a second dog shot on Frem. I'll take Piera Rodriguez and I'll take Julio Arche. So maybe not huge on underdogs, but you've got an even money pick in Jared Vanderaa. Oh, well, we got Aspen last. So I guess that's 3 underdogs. Rozenstruik was an even money pick, but it's still hovering not terribly bad. And there was one more. And Tecia Torres. Those 3 near even money picks, that's what's going to juice up the value for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So anyways, I think it could be a good profitable weekend. Hopefully it is. Hopefully I can help in any way possible. Sorry, I got to cut out on you, but I got a lady, you know. Problem when you got a lady, you know it is.
Hey,
I
got the ring on the finger, man. You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, they don't like 2-hour streams. You can cut 90 minutes. They don't like the long ones. They don't like you drinking on the streams either. You don't get shit afterwards. So I'll cut you out. Of course, Cody's not bitch whipped. Just gotta business booty call. Duty calls. Gotta do what you gotta do.
Hey, I don't hate it, Cody. You got to do what you got to do. See, I'm disappointing and I set the bar for myself low. So the wife knows on Monday nights I'm gone. Like that's it. And the stream's going to be 2+ hours. Deal with it. Like that's
Yeah, I know. See, I got my Wednesday show, and then
yeah.
and I got to do a prop show Thursday, and I was like, I'm doing this show with Clint because we've been talking about it for a long time. And honestly, man, like you're a lot like myself. Like I know you're getting a little hard on yourself recently. I've seen your tweets. You're like, I'm not hitting. It's not about you hitting someone getting a bad pick. It's about you come out here, you bring the entertainment, you give a point of view. People watch your point of view. They make assessments. Clint's fucking off his rocker. Clint's onto something. Clint likes his underdog. I agree. It's just part of a research process. They're just doing their research. If you make a bad read and you got a bad pick, oh well, man, say la vie. Life goes on. You don't gotta feel bad about it, right? Just adding something. But you bring the entertainment, right? And I feel the same way myself. I'm trying to do the research. I'm trying to do the best I can. But at the end of the day, even if I went 0 for 10, there are people that are like, well, I appreciate the effort. I appreciate you going out there and making the time. You're one of the good guys, dude. People like you. They mean to do this show for a long time. Sorry it took over a year to book. And hopefully we can book one a lot sooner for the next one. But it's been my absolute pleasure to come on, talk with you, talk with your audience. Pub Sports Radio, a bunch of guys over there. Been meaning to do some stuff with them. So it's been good. The only thing that could be a little bit better is if we crush some picks this weekend, made some money. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll get our last bit of information on Friday for the weigh-ins. And, of course, Paul Shaughnessy and I will be doing a show on Wednesday. If you want to check that out, feel free. But in the meantime, good luck to the good guys. And hopefully let's catch some tickets.
Thank you very much, Cody. It's been a pleasure having you on, man. You go have a great evening. We'll all be tuning into your show a little bit later this week. Definitely appreciate you coming on, man.
All right. Take care, buddy.
Have a good one. All right, everybody. That was the GOAT himself, Cody Saftic. Don't everybody jump ship. We still got to break down those fights. I know he gave us the rapid fire picks there at the end, and we definitely appreciate him for that. But we still got a little show left in us here. Want to give a shout out here real quick to my guy, UFC. Free UFC bets and picks for the $9.99 dono. Clint, you help us all so much every week. Cody, too. This donation goes to the channel, of course. Thank you, Pub Sports Radio, for getting all these goats in here. Got to support these goats directly as well. Thank you so much, my friend. I appreciate it. Make sure you check out free UFC bets and picks. He does, it's the family. It's my favorite UFC family. They do some awesome stuff, mostly over there on Instagram. It's good shit. Go check them out for sure. I'm going to get caught up here on the comment section. See, Cody, here's the thing. Cody's an asshole because he got me going on the fireball. He got me a couple shots deep, and then he bounced to go hang with his lady. Now, I'm half drunk on stream with 430 live viewers, and I got to finish a show. Thanks a lot, Cody. All right. We got to refocus, get back into this thing. Unless I'm mistaken, we left off with Mickey Gall, Mike Malott. I think I like Mike Malott. But again, it's the Dana White Contender Series fade. Cody raised a couple questions about Mike Malott's gas tank. Mickey Gall showing improvements, new gym, better place. Like, I could kind of see it, and we've seen Mike Malott get hit and hurt before. Mickey Gall's got some pop in his hands. He's got some power. So I don't know. There's that finish upside maybe. I don't think I'm going to take that dog personally. That's probably a fight that I'm just going to avoid. But I think I would go favorite side of that if I was going to make a bet. Anybody listening to this live here, I'm going to go ahead and I'll timestamp Cody's quick picks. So like when we get to this thing at the end, I'll have all the fights sectioned out where they're supposed to be. And then there'll be a little clip for Cody's quick picks before he abandoned ship there. MC asking for the early PRP. Cody, sorry about that, MC. The PRP, that's dog or pass. He's going to give that bad boy out on Wednesday. So gotta tune in on that dog or pass podcast. Gotta love everybody catching up here, cracking up on Cody bailing a little bit early. Yeah, I mean, you can't fault the guy though. Life is different when you're dating versus when you're married. Like all the married guys out there are gonna tell you that's facts. So can't fault the guy if the girl says you gotta jump off in an hour and a half. That's what it is. That's what it is. Both Cody and I love talking fights and get a little long-winded. So this thing could have gone 5 hours if she didn't cut it short. So maybe we're lucky she pulled that move there and got him out of here. So next fight we want to talk about Vinc from Hell Pichel taking on Mark O. Madsen, the Olympian himself. And I couldn't agree with Cody more. You got to get Paul Saftic's call on this one because he really does seem to have a nose for Vinc Pichel. This is a very, very tight fight, man. We've got Mark O. Madsen training out at Fight Ready. Y'all know I love my Fight Ready fighters. And the line is tight. Vinc Pichel is -130. Mark O. Madsen is +110. And, Vinc is he's such a big, strong dude. He's got cardio for days. He's not going to gas out. He's not going to slow down. Mark Madsen, 11-0, undefeated. He's getting up there. He's getting a little bit old, but damn is he strong. He comes out, uses that, Olympic level wrestling, takes people down, grinds on them. But he struggles deep in the fight, especially someone like Hubbard. I bet on Hubbard when he fought Hubbard because I thought Hubbard in round 3 was going to turn up and put on a bit too much of a pace for him and get him out of there. I think this is kind of the same type of spot where Vinc Pichel, he just doesn't go away. He's only got 25% takedown defense, but the real gem of Vinc Pichel is his get-up game. Like, he's got solid jiu-jitsu. He's good defensively. He hits hard, and then he makes you work. He gets back to his feet. Mark Madsen was able to outstrike Clay Guida his last time out. That pissed a lot of people off that really thought he was going to go out there and grapple hard and kind of blanket Clay Guida, but he got it done with his hands, split decision. That's going to be a much tougher task here against Vinc Pichel because Pichel, he's got some decent striking on him. He hits harder. He's a bit bigger, physically more imposing. The question is, can Marco Madsen bank those first 2 rounds? Because I think that's really what this comes down to. I expect Mark Madsen to win round 1. Round 2 is when it starts getting sketchy because Mark is going to win the first minute or 2 of round 2, and then we see how well his cardio holds up because he's getting up there. If he starts to slow down after the first minute, Vinc Pichel takes over. He wins round 2. He wins round 3. You get Pichel decision. You get Pichel late 3rd round TKO when Mark is gassed out. Like, this is a really good live betting spot, in my opinion, because Mark Madsen is going to win round 1, and you'll get a juicy number on Vinc Pichel after round 1. And especially if you see the signs, if you're watching with your 2 eyes and you can see Mark Madsen fading, if he shot for 8 takedowns in round 1 and Pichel just keeps getting up after every single one, that's going to be the spot where you want to live bet on Vinc Pichel. Because if Mark Madsen is chaining takedowns and can't get them and can't get the control time and can't keep his opponent down, that's absolutely when he's going to slow down. He's going to gas out. I kind of like Vinc Pichel in this spot. -130. I don't know if I want to lay the -130 pre-flop because, like I said, I think after round 1, you'll get +140 or something like that. Thanks, Evan. Appreciate you tuning in, buddy. I see your comment there. And George, yes, Pichel, rumor has it he is from hell. All right, so let's move the show along, everybody. We are deep in this bad boy, and I do want to wrap it up for you. I'm also stumbling a little bit over my words, and because Cody got me drinking, I gotta pee. So let's get through the rest of this bad boy. Next up, Aleksei Oleinik taking on Vanderaa, and you guys, I hate that Cody went out on the note that he did because I really wanted to talk about this particular fight with him. Both Vanderaa and Aleksei Oleinik are guys that I took as underdogs very recently. Now, I said that Vanderaa was the guy that was going to be able to beat Overeem. What am I talking about? He was going to beat, who's the other dinosaur of the division? Shit, Drunk Clint is not good for the Monday show. I'm good for the Friday shows. I'm good for the live shows. I'm not good when I'm supposed to know my shit on Monday evening. Andrei Arlovski. I thought that Vanderaa was going to be able to out-volume Andrei Arlovski and get a decision win. The fact is, Vanderaa's got pillow fists, man. Like, this guy does not hit that hard. He's a volume-based striker. Cody mentioned it. He's a BJJ black belt. His ground game, he doesn't look overly impressive offensively speaking, but his sub-D should be something that holds up there. Aleksei Oleinik, 3-fight losing streak. But damn, man, I was so ready to go against everybody and bet on him against Latifi. I love his submission upside. I love that offense. The thing he really struggles with is power punchers. That's kind of my concern here in this fight because Vanderaa, being a volume guy, he's not going to sit down on a shot and get him out of there in the first round. He's going to have to rely on the volume. He's going to have to stick a jab out there and backpedal. And then especially if Oleinik does get in there on a takedown and he gets Vanderaa on bottom, I don't know that he's a bottom black belt. Like, there's people who know jiu-jitsu, that There's people that play well on top. There's people that play well on bottom. Vanderaa is sick from top position. His ground and pound's good. His submissions are good. He's got a good, strong top game. But people with good, strong top games, they don't always work their bottom game. They don't always know what to do from their backs because they're so focused on their offense. They're not really paying attention to their defense. Oleinik's a guy that, he was able to handle and reverse guys like Sergey Spivak, and Spivak had his way with a guy like Jared Vanderaa. So I absolutely think that Oleinik is live in this spot, but I think the line is appropriate at the -110 spot. Whoever wins this fight probably looks -500 in hindsight because it's either Oleinik getting on top of Vanderaa, finding his way to a submission and getting him out of there, or it's going to be Vanderaa backpedaling, jabbing, using his footwork, using his movement, and then maybe eventually clipping Aleksei Oleinik deeper in the fight when he starts to slow down. We got to be real about Aleksei Oleinik. As much as I love this guy, he's like 44 years old. He's not going to have the durability. He's not going to have the gas that we're used to. So if Vanderaa starts to put a pace on him, then I don't know that that's something he's going to be able to keep up with. And I think a late TKO from Jared Vanderaa is going to be live on the table. It kind of sucks because both these guys had big, juicy plus numbers, and I backed them both recently. To miss that opportunity and now have a pick'em price tag on both of them, man, it's tough. It's tough because I really want to pick a side here, and it's hard because I can make arguments for both guys. I think I will say Aleksei Oleinik. Like, believe it or not, I think I'm going to say Aleksei Oleinik finds his way to a sub here, but I'm not extremely confident in that. Probably going to sprinkle that sub prop. Maybe he'll be in my submission special parlay, but I don't think I'm going to go hard on this particular fight because, like I said, I think that pick'em price tag is evens. And Sean, thank you so much for the nice comment, man, saying you and Cody are equals. He's not better than you. He's an encyclopedia for fights. You're probably equal on picking fights. Hey, man, Cody, he's made like hundreds of thousands of dollars betting on MMA, and that's something that I have not done and can't even start to claim to do. When it comes to our content and stuff, like he mentioned, guys, I'm an entertainer. Like, that's what I do. I want to be the funniest guy on YouTube. I want to have casuals watch my show, and even if you don't agree with my picks, I want you to have a good time. Like, that's what I'm here for. I understand I'm not the best picker in the game. So I do think in that respect, we're equal. But guys, the one thing some of you maybe don't know or got to realize is that I have looked up to Cody like my entire MMA betting life. Like Cody and, Dogger Pass, back in the day, it was Bookie Beatdown, and then Best Fight Picks. My guy, Dan Levy. Those are the two shows that got me into podcasting. So like the fact that Dan and Cody come on my show, I mean, I know I'm getting like 8 to 10K views every week. And a lot of you guys think I'm cool and I've got a show, and people ask to be my guests on the show all the time and stuff. Like I'm not trying to big time anybody, but that's a thing that happens. Like I'm the little kid that gets starstruck when Dan Levy and Cody Saftic come on my show. When Will Martin came on my show a couple episodes ago, like I'm like, holy shit, these guys are on my podcast. Like it's just, that's kind of the thing. Like I'm not like putting Cody up on a pedestal, but I can't help it. You know what I mean? I can't help but be a little bit starstruck in that kind of spot. So, yeah, man, that's what I'm going for. And yeah, Luke pointing out drunk Clintus. Yeah, that's, and believe it or not, guys, I'm just a little bit tipsy. What you guys get, I don't need alcohol to have a good time. I'm already like a bubbly, outgoing personality. Don't need alcohol whatsoever to have a good time. You get me a little tipsy, this is where we're at. Like I go off when I'm a little bit tipsy. You get drunk, Clint, that's when the shirt comes off. That is when shit gets crazy. Let's wrap this bad boy up. Next fight up, we got Anthony Fluffy Hernandez taking on Josh Fremd. And I'm glad Cody touched on this one. I really am, because Fluffy is like a -190, -180 favorite at this point in the week. And oh shit, I tabbed out on it. Yeah, see, definitely tipsy Clint running the stream at this point. Y'all have ruined me. And I think that Hernandez is a guy that he really relies on breaking people with his cardio. He's got that weaponized. Hey, Zelda, will you shut up? Sorry, Link and Zelda are barking off over there in the distance. I guess the dogs are barking again on this one. That's what Cody said. Josh Fremd coming in on short notice, 9-2. Hernandez is 8-2. And like he mentioned, that recency bias of him subbing a guy as legendary as Rodolfo Vieira, he uses his gas tank as a weapon. That's what Fluffy does. He gets in your face. He hits decently hard, constant ground and pound, big elbows if he gets you down there, always hunting chokes, but he is kill or be killed. Like those 2 losses have both been finishes. So if he can't get you out of there, he definitely leaves himself open coming the other way. And Fremd, he was on Dana White looking for a fight. This is a big dude. He is big for the division. I really want to see these guys face off because he's going to have a 4-inch height advantage in this spot. 7 of his 9 wins by finish. But his last loss was a round 1 KO to Gregory Rodriguez. Now, we know RoboCop. We know how big that guy is. We know he's made of steel. We know he hits hard. Like, that's not a bad loss to have. That's a UFC caliber loss, getting knocked out by that guy in round 1. Can't really go wrong there. But I noticed Josh Fremd has decent range management. He's got a nice double jab, little bit of tall man defense, and that's kind of what got him in trouble with RoboCop. But somebody like Hernandez, I don't know if Hernandez can take advantage of him there in that spot. Anthony Hernandez really goes for broke, and Josh Fremd is more of a guy that operates at a steady, consistent pace. If Fremd can control the range and control the pace, that's going to be his key to victory here. If he can slow this thing down, weather the early storm from Anthony Hernandez, and then just kind of take over, make sure it's going at his level in his game, then it's going to be a spot where I think Fremd absolutely can pull the upset. I think if Hernandez is going to have a shot in this, it's going to be much like with Rodolfo Vieira, except Rodolfo gasses quickly because he's got all that muscle. Fremd is just big. I don't see him necessarily getting gassed out early in round 1 unless he goes for broke and starts slinging with Hernandez. If he tries to match pace with Fluffy, one of these guys is going down and they're going down early. But if he keeps his game plan, if he does his normal thing, if he plods, slows it down, minds the range, I actually do think that Fremd can probably defend these takedowns. I do think he can keep it standing, and I do think that he can win a decision over Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. So maybe a live dog here on Josh Fremd. Another spot, like I said, guys, I've only moved on 2 spots on this entire card. This is not one that I have bet on just yet. And funnily enough, Cody has disagreed with both the bets that I made, which never makes me feel good. Next fight up, we've got Piero Rodriguez taking on Kay Hansen. What the hell, man? My tongue... I was just talking about Fluffy. My tongue remembers the Hernandez. Kay Hansen. Team OnlyFans. Let's go. So what if I told you could afford, a 6-month subscription to OnlyFans with just one bet on Saturday? I'm betting on Kay Hansen, folks. This is your classic recency bias spot. All right. Kay Hansen, in my opinion, should have a little bit better record than what we have seen. You go back and you watch that McKenna fight. Now, some people have bashed on her a little bit for that McKenna fight. People saying McKenna hasn't looked good recently. That one hasn't aged well, doesn't look great. Yeah, I get that. But if you look at that fight and you try and actually score it, I think that Hansen won 2 out of 3 rounds. I thought that Hansen deserved the victory in that fight. And if you go and you look at the media scores, now that's not something I do a lot, because the scores are the scores. It is what it is. They are what they are. But every once in a while, you get just a really bad judge's decision. And that's kind of what I feel like happened here. The media scores were 13-2 on Kay Hansen winning that fight. 13-2. But the 3 judges cage side thought that McKenna had done enough to win. I thought Hansen won that fight. It was close. She's young. She makes some rookie mistakes. Shit happens. But the fact is, she's getting better. She's training out at 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu. Her debut was a come-from-behind sub over Jinyu Frey. So she has submitted some seriously high-level people in her past before. Her jiu-jitsu is awesome. And that last fight against Jasmine Judavicius, everyone is so down on Kay Hansen for losing to Jasmine Judavicius. Guys and gals and whatever in between, Jasmine Judavicius is a monster. She is a big 125er. As soon as they shut the cage door, I went, oh, shit. If you were on Kay Hansen against Jasmine Judavicius, you felt bad as soon as you saw them stand next to each other, because the top of Kay Hansen's head came up to Jasmine's elbow. It was a big size difference. She couldn't close the range. She couldn't control the grappling, those long-ass legs of Jasmine, and she had those tree trunk thighs, the butterfly hooks, the sweep she hit later in the fight. Like, you can do that to somebody smaller than you. Like, if you're relatively equal in the grappling, but you've got a 15, 20-pound weight advantage, you can sweep people from that position no problem, because there's nothing they can do. They're just small enough for you to leg press off of them. And that's what Jasmine Dudovicius did in that spot. Man, Kay Hansen, she got Jasmine down late in the fight. She never gave up. She's always fighting for your money. I know the OnlyFans fade. Like, people are out there, saying women with OnlyFans don't win fights. Hannah Goldie just got a win, so your OnlyFans fade. There's a hole been poked in it. But Kay Hansen is legitimately looking to fight. She's not trying to make a living off of OnlyFans. She wants to compete. She's in damn good shape for this fight. And that never quit attitude that I saw in that last fight against a bigger, stronger opponent up a weight class, I liked that. I liked that a lot. I think her ground game has a lot to offer here in this spot. And her opponent is the Dana White Contender Series fade angle for me. She's coming in here favored over somebody who, in my opinion, if you read between the lines, has not looked that bad in her UFC tenure so far. But she is favored over her, and she's primarily a striker. And she gassed herself out wrestling. When she couldn't knock her opponent out with big shots, she started huffing and puffing. She started looking for level changes. And that's exactly kind of what I'm looking for here. I think Kay Hansen will be able to outmuscle her, outlast her. And then, honestly, I think she submits her. I think we're looking at a round 3 sub from Kay Hansen. When Piera Rodriguez isn't quite able to get Kay Hansen out of there, when she's forced to wrestle and she starts to slow down, I think she leaves her neck out there. I think she gives up her back, trying to get back up to her feet. I fully believe Kay Hansen is maybe one of the best bets on this card, personally. I know I'm a bit on an island with that one. There's not a lot of people that agree with me, but I got 3 units at plus 105 on this one. I am unnecessarily confident. Remember when I said I was coming in Kardashian style this week? This is my spot. I got 1 unit on the sub, plus 450. I got 4 units risk total on Kay Hansen. I really think she just absolutely rolls here on Saturday. Shout out to El Dorado with the $3 dono and the super sticker. Thank you so much, my friend. I appreciate it. Yeah, the dogs are Lincoln Zelda. Had to go, old school gamer with that one. And again, everybody in the comments, I know, I get it. Trust me, I get it. There, it's suspect with the OnlyFans. It's suspect that she's lower level competition. I get it. I really think that these are good spots. I think that Kay Hansen is the spot. I think she should be favored here. She opened up, minus 150-ish, and then the line went the other way. I think that's recency bias, and I think the opener was right. I think she should be minus 150. So let's go. Luke Fulton saying Clint Island, the land of lost dog money. Well, it didn't used to be that way, Luke. I know I'm on a bit of a rough skid lately, but it didn't used to be that way. Don't you worry. We'll get right. We'll right this ship. You'll see. I got a process. Long term, it works. A couple bumps in the road, couple over stretches. We're going to get right. You'll see. Next fight up. First fight of the evening, actually, which feels weird going at the end of the show, but it is what it is. Julio Arce taking on Daniel Santos. And Cody just touched on this one. Another one that I really wish I had just a little bit more time to pick the man's brain. Guys, I had such a hard time finding footage on Daniel Santos. I could not find this man anywhere. He is really tough to come by when it came to tape studying, but he's making his UFC debut, 27 years old. He's a BJJ purple belt, trains at Shoot the Box. So he's working with Charles Oliveira. Like, if you're going to work with anybody, Charlie O is the guy that you want to be working with right now. The dude is streaking, paid his dues, knows what it takes to be UFC caliber championship material. So yeah, gotta love that. 10-1. Arce coming off a bad knockout loss. Well, okay, I'm going to back that up here. Coming off a knockout loss to Song Yadong. It was one of those TKO ones. He got clipped, he got caught and dropped, but the ref stepped in and saved him. It wasn't like he was like unconscious, eyes rolled back type of thing. And that's the spot where usually I want them to take longer after that kind of a KO to come back. He's coming back after about 5 months or so from that knockout loss. That's not so bad considering it wasn't like an awful KO loss and just kind of a TKO type of spot. Man, I think that Julio Arce deserves to be favored in this spot. Going from Song Yadong to a UFC debutante is a massive step down in competition. Realistically, that should be like a get right kind of spot. If you watch the fight with Song, Arce was not out of his class. Like, he was in that fight. They were very evenly matched. There was some good back and forth. And then Song, he's just durable as shit. And he's got big power. He was able to clip Julio and put him down. Now, Daniel Santos maybe can do that too. I'm working off of, old footage, stuff from like 5 years ago. His only loss is, a decision loss. But man, he's got heavy hands. He comes forward. He wings punches. He's got big body kicks. But he's extremely hittable. And again, this is old footage, so maybe he's patched that up. But he drops his hands and wings for the fences. I think someone who's a little bit savvier like Julio can take advantage of that. And Julio's got a 67% striking defense rating on him. Like, he's tough to hit. He gets in there and he knows how to avoid your offense. I think he can kind of dance around Santos, clip him up, maybe take a bit more of a, we're in the big cage. This is a UFC pay-per-view. Take the big cage approach to it. I kind of think Julio Arce can use that counter striking, play the matador, catch the bull on his way in. And we know Arce's got some chin issues. He's been knocked out before, coming back quick after a knockout. Daniel Santos is the kind of tough kid that might be able to put him down. And if he does, well, there you go. I think maybe we bet on violence in this spot. I don't really want to lay minus 190 with Julio Arce in this spot. I'm going to pick him to win. That's going to be the side that I go ahead and go with here is Julio Arce. But I think either of these guys can win, and I think both these guys can finish realistically. Arce's got a 93% takedown defense rating for those of you who may care, because Daniel Santos likes to try to do some work on the ground. I don't know. This is going to be a sketchy fight, man. It's hard to trust Julio Arce on this quick turnaround, but at the same time, I do kind of think he's the side. Shout out El Dorado again for another sticker. Definitely appreciate it. Justin saying that Arce not great, but could be able to beat this new guy coming off like 2 years. Yeah, exactly. That's kind of how I feel about this one too, Justin. I just think, big step up, maybe too much too soon. Julio's not a guy that I'm quite ready to bury just yet. We'll see what happens. Mike Harvey saying parlay him. I don't really want to trust him in a parlay though. That's kind of my thing. I think he wins. I don't know that I want him tied up to anybody else. KRL saying, missed the start. What did he say about the parlay? Alja, KZ, and Burns. Definitely not parlaying the dogs. We do think that Aljo is probably the livest dog of the three that might, have their favorite shit in the bed there on the top three fights. But we'll see what happens. The favorites probably all win on the top three fights. We will see. Man, that was fun, guys. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We got up over like 450 live viewers tonight. That's the Cody Saftic effect. Gotta love having him here on the show, bringing some extra fans to the table. Y'all that stuck with me for the full 2 hours, you're the real ones. If you're watching this thing later in the week, that's okay too. Not everybody can make the live show. I love you guys just as much. Thank you all so much for the support. Seriously. I really appreciate it. Even the haters, even you guys trying to poke me and jab at me because I get some shit wrong. That's life, baby. I put myself out here on public. You got to have some thick skin to do this gig. You got to be able to roll with the punches if you're going to pull this bad boy off. You ain't shaking me. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. That's the fireball talking. Thank you all so much for spending your Monday evenings with me. Khamzat, Chimaev, smash that like button for me. Let's get this show out there. Tag your friends. And don't forget, I'm working with Superbook Sports. If you guys want a boost, if you want something boosted, hit me in the comments as soon as this show is over. Jump down in the comments section. Let me know what fight you want boosted. And if there's a popular pick, if y'all line up on something that you want boosted up, I will see what I can do about getting an odds boost over at Superbook Sports for that and see if we can get a better number on something that everybody likes. I am a man of the people. Y'all degenerates are my favorite people. Let's go ahead and get this money, folks. Let's get back on track. I'm ready to put some money in my pockets. Real quick here. I'm going to go ahead and go back over everything to make sure I don't miss something. Main event, picking Volkanovski, violence. I want the under. I'm probably going to bet that. Plus 120 doesn't go the distance. Aljamain Sterling, Petr Yan. I think over. I think you can get like over 3.5 at minus 160 or something like that. I think this one goes deep. I think Aljo changes things up, comes with a different game plan. Aljo by decision is maybe a little bit interesting. This is one that I'm actually honestly a little bit sketched out about. I think it's not going to go the same way as the first fight. I think Aljo makes adjustments and comes in with a different game plan. How Jan reacts to that is really going to be what makes the difference on how this fight plays out. I think it probably goes the distance. We'll see. Khamzat Chimaev by knockout. I'm going to say round 2. Tecia Torres is the dog that Cody and I decided that we like. And on cue, my dog's barking for that one. Love to hear that. Darian Weeks, we think, is kind of a live underdog here. Ian Garry by sub at plus 700 is maybe worth a little bit of a sprinkle. Might like that. Will you guys shut up? And then Jairzinho Rozenstruik, I got to get in on that minus 150 before the end of the show here. Cody and I disagreed. I've got Pennington at minus 145 from earlier in the week. He's got Aspen Lad. Wait till Friday. Wait for the undefeated post weigh-in show for that one. And then Mike Malott. Holy, stop it. Shut up, you two. I'm on a show. I'm on a podcast. Sorry, everybody, especially audio listeners, RIP headphone users. My bad. They're usually not this noisy, and I'm also usually done by now. We're thinking Vinc Pichel. Watch Cody's show with Paul Shaughnessy. Double check with the Whisperer. I do think Vanderaa, maybe. I think Oleinik. Cody said Vanderaa. Maybe Vanderaa is the right side on that one. He's taking a little bit of money. That line is moving back towards Vanderaa. That might be a sign that we want to be on that side. Josh Fremd might be a live dog at plus 160. I'm on K. Hansen plus 105. And then probably Aleksei minus 190, but no bet there for me. Hey, make sure you tune back in. Total Takedown on Thursday. We're back, full schedule, undefeated post weigh-in show on Friday. Y'all are awesome. Hit the like button on the way out. Subscribe here if you haven't already. And I just appreciate you guys. This shit is fun. I started this podcast so I could talk to other like-minded degenerates and gamblers and UFC fans, and we've built an awesome community here for the most part. So I just appreciate you guys. I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for you guys. And I want to go full-time one of these days. I want to make content creation and MMA coverage and sports betting. Like I want to make that my full-time gig. We're not there yet, but we're headed the right direction. Got some super exciting things in the future. Can't wait to share with you guys coming down the pipe, but damn, today was awesome. I'm going to go get some food, and I'm definitely gonna pee. Make sure if you got to pee, you go pee. That's the one lesson I want you to take away from today. Don't you strain that bladder. Have a good week, everybody. Let's roll.